Travelers on the Omnibus occasionally touches on mature subject matter with mature language. As such, the audience discretion is advised.
Ethan, have I told you my chemistry joke?
No, you haven't.
It probably wouldn't get a big reaction.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Travelers on the Omnibus. I am your host, Ethan Skinner.
That one got a reaction.
Are you sure it's not Skeletor?
Ethan Skeletor.
Being Skeletor for Halloween, you know that's still a few days off.
Ethan say He-Man.
Well, in this...
He-Man.
Yep, there you go.
If you're listening to this, it will be in the future after Halloween, but right now it's before
Actually,
Halloween.
no, I'm planning on releasing this one Monday.
Oh,
So
okay.
we should be on
cool,
Halloween.
cool. That doesn't count. That was way more than 3 cools.
No, it counts twice.
Yeah, me and Jay had the bit of having that as the opening, but
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and then you just fucking crowbarred that joke.
Hell yeah.
Ah,
Get the fuck out of
like
here
that.
with all that.
yeah.
anyway, welcome to Travelers on the Omnibus, a road trip through nerd and pop culture. My name is Ethan
Every
Skinner.
time.
Man plans and God laughs.
Yeah, exactly. Field trip.
Field trip, road trip, same thing.
No, it's not. I had to have a permission slip to go on a field trip.
Anyway, I am Ethan
like-
Skinner.
Like
For a road trip, all you did was have to be old enough to buy beer.
Yeah, exactly. If you didn't have enough money to buy beer, you were in the trunk.
Yep.
There
And
you
if
go.
it's a Euro trip,
Have we started the introductions? I've kind of lost
yeah,
track.
I said
I've
my name. I'm just
completely-
waiting for
okay.
he
you.
said his name multiple
Right,
times.
Okay.
we have Skeletor already.
Yes.
I'm James McCarthy, a.k.a. Elmo. No. I might have to explain why you're giggling.
now I'm stuck on the bit that we were talking about
So we
earlier.
have
now don't say it because then somebody will steal it.
That's true.
We had an idea. There you go.
Yeah.
No
we had an idea that caused us lots of giggles.
Yes.
Ooh, man, that came out really bad. I'm Brady.
It's staying in.
I'm Brady. Well, yeah, I know the things that you want to stay in.
Well, that's what happens when you leave me to do the editing.
That is true because I'm not doing that shit. I'm
Yeah.
Brady Davis.
I'm Jody Kai.
I thought
Oh,
you had
man.
forgotten
Oh,
who you were.
Jesus. Oh, no.
Oh my God.
Oh man, the thing that everybody loves is silence on a podcast.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Behind the curtains, last week's podcast on Blades in the Dark, which we got several good feedbacks from. I'm very happy about that. But that was initially about 2 hours, 20 minutes. And then when you removed the silence parts where everyone was thinking, it ended up being under 2 hours. So
yeah, we're
miraculously.
we're not like really on our feet guys necessarily.
I thought you were.
have
We're
to-
not like really good.
I mean, well there is
That's
that.
also
It's
true.
like, God damn, man.
Yeah.
Well, before we get to that wonderful feedback, what's everyone been up to? Brady, let's go with you first.
I knew you were going to do that.
Yeah? And?
So much so, I knew you were going to do that.
He's already like projecting animosity
That
towards
was-
Brady.
That was.
Well, I did step on his bit.
Yeah, that man.
If
That
I-
man
no one's
somebody-
ever done that to you.
Yeah, no, never.
literally last week.
Yeah.
150% Richton on that.
Yeah.
Like, there you go.
Yeah. Okay, so a couple things. Just a few things, couple things. This Saturday, I did everything happened on Saturday, I guess. Started the D&D campaign that we have been talking about with our friends from Whiskey and Wrestling, Holder and Michael, and Michael's fiancée.
Nice.
I've recently watched Oh Brother Where Art Thou, so it's in my head.
Love that movie.
I'm a man constant soul.
So we did kind of it was a little bit of a session 0 where we kind of talked about some things, and then we got into a little bit of a scuffle that we were actually way overqualified for. I tried very hard not to kill anybody and really killed some people. But I'm playing what is I can't remember exactly. It's Ulthar Bonebreaker. I'm playing it as a half Goliath who is really stupid and has low charisma because I don't want to be the talky character because I always end up being that for some reason. I guess that's what I gravitate to. But then being the mouthpiece of the party can be very draining. So I decided I'm going to be a big dumb character who hits things with a hammer very hard, and I believe that I have made that. So, yeah, we started off being tasked with killing these bandits, and then we ended up, like Holder said today, we thought we were going to be murder hobos, and then it turns out now we're stuck in some socio-political bullshit. So I think it's going to be very interesting. Sorry, Michael and Caitlin, I cannot remember your character's names. As you can see, I barely remembered my character's name.
Call them Blake Shelton and some hot actress from Hollywood.
Yeah, we have
it helps often.
We have
Zendaya.
Blake Shelton and Zendaya are playing in your game. That's fantastic.
Yes, Caitlin's playing a dwarf druid, and Michael is playing a half-elf cleric. And it's really funny because my character is also a little skittish around magic because he doesn't really understand it, and he's also some things that happen in his background made him like wary of wizards and shit like that. So every time Michael's a Twilight cleric, so he can just touch somebody and give them 300 feet of night vision, of dark vision, whatever. So like he does that without like telling me. So I'm like, oh shit, I can see really far now. What the hell did you do? What happened? And then I was like, oh wait, do y'all do magic? Because I don't know about this, and this is not cool. Like. But I'm also, I'm enjoying it, and I think it's going to be very interesting, and I'm looking forward to it. So I'll keep everybody updated. We're playing like every other week. We're trying not to do like a every week thing because then that usually falls apart.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're trying to do it like every other week. So I'm looking forward to it.
I will say when it comes to like D&D characters or just any tabletop RPG game, like the big dumb brawn of a party has always been my favorite because you never know what he's going to do.
Well, there's usually a lot of comic relief with that too.
Yeah.
And always, the answer is why worry about unlocking the door for 30 minutes when you can just smash it.
I played a character, a half-orc barbarian in like a Ravnica set game, and there was a part of the region where there was nothing but like desolate landscape, very few trees. We had a party of ambushers come up on us, and my character decided, hey, I'm gonna climb up a tree and hide in there. Little did I know the tree did not have leaves, and they spotted me easily.
Yeah.
You didn't ask the very specifics of.
Absolutely not.
You always ask the specifics.
My character also doesn't understand like sarcasm or anything like that.
Oh, I love
joke.
that. Yeah.
So people will be talking, and I just don't get it. So it's. I think I've created an interesting character that's going to be fun. I've actually, I'm eventually going to make him an Echo Knight, and I've even like come up with a reason as to why he's even like that, which is not something that I usually do. So yeah, it's gonna be cool, and I'll keep everybody updated. And then the second thing I did, which has actually happened before the D&D campaign, is I went and watched a movie. So I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on the podcast, but as everybody else knows, one of my favorite characters with like superheroes, supervillains, and things like that in the comic book universe is Black Adam. I've liked him ever since I've read the 52 series that came right after Crisis on Infinite Earths. I think they did a lot of really interesting things with the character. I think he's a really cool character that has a lot of depth. So recently, the Black Adam movie came out starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and I went and watched it. And of course, if anybody's wondering, yes, I did wear my Black Adam hoodie that is on the back of my chair right now.
You literally have it with you right now. Rest in peace, Drunk Monk. You made some amazing.
Yes, I'm pretty certain that they that they're not around anymore.
No, they aren't. I was actually looking for them. And
I said they're not around anymore because they got sued into oblivion because everything that they did.
Huh.
I don't know if this is the truth.
They didn't have a license for this shit?
I'm pretty certain that they didn't. Because
I'm wearing every time I wear that Green Lantern hoodie, I'm illegal.
Because
holy shit.
Because I don't see how they could have selling them for what because they had everything. Like they had everything. But I haven't looked into it, and
to me more so than being sued into oblivion, more than likely they paid a shitload for licensing rights and
That
they
is-
just weren't able to make it back
It's
up.
one or the other. It's
Right.
one or the other. They either
Passengers out there in passenger land on the other side of the bus or inside the bus or whatever. If you know this answer, let us know.
yes, do the work that I sure don't feel like doing, because I have my hoodies and I'm happy with them.
So that's
and
a company that was putting out clothes with everything.
they did these hoodies that are all like themed, and they were like superheroes and pop culture things,
and they were like affordable.
they were decently affordable. They were, for kind of a not super high price, but kind of high priced hoodie. But this is not like just a regular material. This is a little bit better,
Right, a
material.
little swankier.
Yeah, I think it's probably about like $50 a hoodie or something like that.
Sounds
So-
about right. I mean,
and they like made them to order, so it's not
Mm-hmm.
like they just had them on a rack. Like it took a long time for them to get here. So
Yeah, like my design is the one for Simon Baz.
yeah, that was
Which-
the only.
It's still I like Baz's entire like character design, so I was happy with that. That was a Christmas gift, Christmas / birthday gift from Brady to me. And I do love it. In fact, I was probably going to wear it tomorrow night because the weather is once again turning to where it's good hoodie weather.
Yeah. So so yeah, I watched the movie. It was fine. It wasn't the greatest thing ever, but it wasn't like a travesty.
I've heard very mixed reviews about
It is mixed. There are parts in the movie that are decent, and then there are parts of the movie where it's just apparently everybody in the fucking theater thought it was the funniest fucking thing ever, and I didn't laugh at one joke. I thought the humor was not that great.
I'm hiding under this table right now. I'm very scared. When
Well,
you get mad at comedy,
No,
you get
it did.
mad at comedy.
It didn't make me bad, but it was just like everybody would laugh, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, that was a joke, and that's where you're supposed to laugh, but like that wasn't very funny to me. The Rock was fine as Black Adam. I think he's not. My fears were I had very high fears and low hopes for this movie because while I think The Rock is an okay actor, he's just kind of a one, like he can do one character, and that's kind of just
Right.
The Rock. He does that very well, and it served him pretty well. But
You mean The Rock in a jungle setting?
yeah, he's mostly just in jungle settings. But
I would say The Rock in extreme climate
yeah,
situations.
San Andreas.
yeah, or some
Andreas.
disaster, or just some disaster or something like that. So he was fine. He actually tried a little. You can tell that like he does care about the character, but he just doesn't have the
Charisma.
he has the wrong kind of charisma.
The wrong kind of charisma.
He has The Rock's charisma, and that's not the kind of charisma that
Right.
you need for Black Adam. But you can tell that he was actually trying. Most of the other characters were pretty good. The dude who was playing Hawkman, I like the guy playing him. I cannot remember his name, but I like him in other things. I've seen him in other things, and I've liked him. I think that just the character of Hawkman wasn't written well.
I'm told that the character that the person plays Dr. Fate was actually
Yeah,
really good.
Pierce Brosnan plays Dr. Fate, and that's actually really good.
I believe that's Aldous Hodge. Is he-
Possibly because there's been like 3 or 4 people who've been Dr. Fate, so I don't know.
Oh no, not Dr. Fate. Dr.
Oh.
Fate is
Oh, okay, yeah,
is Pierce Brosnan.
Hawkman.
Yeah, Aldous Hodge.
I thought you were. Yes,
Okay.
he's good. I've seen him in other things, and he's really good.
Like Doctor Strange and Doctor Fate are two of my favorite comic book
Yeah.
characters. So
Yeah.
like to have them both kind of representative on the big screen.
They
I'm
played
very
it.
happy about that.
They played it pretty well. The guy who was Atom Smasher, I did not like that character because he was just pretty much.
and that's ATOM Smasher,
Yeah,
not ADAM Smasher, which you will know from Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
yeah, he was just a comic relief, and I kept like he kept doing things, and I was like, why is this guy even on this team? Like, that was my thing. It was like the whole thing was like, okay, this guy who is Superman level, Amanda Waller gets Hawkman and three other people, 2 of whom are like in their early 20s and have never been on any because they got Atom Smash. It was Hawkman, Dr. Fate, Atom Smasher, and Cyclone. And these and Cyclone and Atom Smasher are 2 like in their early 20s, have never been on a mission before. It's like, okay, so you get okay, this is
Imagine your first official mission.
there's
going against
a
Black
lot
Adam.
there's a lot of like the original Suicide Squad movie in this because there's some like needle drops
See,
that are
that feels more like Doom Patrol because that is just like the most ill-fated team, except for Dr. Fate. In my opinion.
yeah, Dr. Fate is on that power level, and Hawkman can't hang with him, but like I've seen like the Hawkman be on teams where like they went after Black Adam and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's some of a lot of the effects were kind of iffy. Some of the like the stuff with like the lightning with Black Adam was good, and the best effects in the movie were when Cyclone used her powers, because she controls wind, and she wears this very colorful like green and blues outfit, and so she'll like spin around and it'll be like this big colorful whirlwind when she's doing stuff, and her hair is like red, so it's all these colors swirling around. That was the best effects in the movie. Like every time she was on screen and using her powers, I didn't understand what the hell was going on because it was messy, but it looked pretty at the very least. And I do another thing that I really liked is that this is it takes place in Kahndaq and it never leaves Kahndaq. So you get a lot of like Middle Eastern actors.
Oh, that's cool.
It is a lot of like, and they don't do it very well because none of these superhero movies like actually like really confront the political issues, but they do talk about how, because Kahndaq is shown as kind of being a thing where people are continually like conquering it and taking it over and colonizing it, and they even talk about how, you know, we see Black Adam as a hero, and you know, the Justice Society is coming in like colonizers trying to take us over again because you don't like us having somebody powerful and things like that. They just don't go far enough with it because none of these movies do.
Right.
Because they're run by these big corporations who don't want to make that much of a wave. They don't want to take everything to their final, you know, to the logical conclusion. That's why movies like the Batman doesn't go as far as it probably should. Meaning that the whole point of the Batman is that, hey, Batman shouldn't exist, but he can't come to that because we have to do sequels and shit like that. But it was fine. I don't know if I'll ever watch it again or anything like that. I might end up buying the Blu-ray. I don't know. But I wasn't like seething when I got out of it, but I wasn't like, oh, this was really great.
It was like neutral feelings.
It was probably about as best as I could feel about a
just above mediocre.
Yeah, about a Black Adam movie that's starring The Rock. So,
do you think it would have been better if like say The Rock still had his part in the production side? Would it be better if they had a different person playing the role? Yes,
I don't know who. I've been trying to think of that ever since they cast him.
See, to me, that's been the whole counterpoint for me is like, I don't see anyone with the build, the look, and the ability to deliver the lines in a superhero movie.
And the box office draw, too.
I think
the box office draw is really the cherry on the cake on that. But like, just take that part away. I don't see anybody physically fitting that role
currently.
Better than him.
Yeah.
I think that there are people who could get close to that at the very least. They do this weird thing where they show flashbacks of The Rock before he becomes Black Adam in like ancient times, and it's The Rock's giant head CGI'd on a regular body, and it looks very weird.
Ooh.
I don't know who I've been trying to think of that.
What was worse, that or The Rock's head CGI'd on a giant scorpion?
Yeah, Scorpion. The Mummy 2 was worse.
Okay. There we go.
Because the CGI was okay. It's just that it looked awkward because you have The Rock's humongous. He's like the size of my head and Ethan's head put together on a regular body, and it looks like he is going to tip over.
Parts of the last Mortal Kombat movie CGI looked worse than Annihilation's CGI.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If you have not seen it.
Yeah. I think that this movie was created because The Rock walked into Warner Brothers Studios and was just like, "Hey, I'm Black Adam. Make a movie." And they were like,
"Done.
We want your draw powers, so yes, we will make this movie." Like, I don't think that anybody had any intention outside. Like, I do appreciate that this is a character that Dwayne Johnson actually cares about, and you can see that. It's just that he doesn't have the gravitas, I guess, to take it to that next level. Black Adam would probably be best with somebody that we just don't know about, who is just kind of an up and coming person, maybe. And really he needs to be like somebody who's kind of like it would be best if he was somebody of like Middle Eastern descent, and I just don't know enough people
that would probably be like an HBO streaming movie if that was the case.
Yeah, and that's the sad truth about it. I don't know. It's fine. It's not the end of the world, but it's not the greatest. Like it didn't reignite my hope in anything. So I mean, see it if you want to. Don't see it if you don't want to. I don't know. It's whatever. Who cares?
Amazing words from Brady.
Yes, this is a ringing endorsement. So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Jody, anything new with you?
Yeah, like 3 things real quick. I'll make them pretty quick. Number 1, I beat the Hand of the King in Dead Cells, which is the last boss. I think maybe I don't know. A lot of people are like, oh, you haven't beaten the game. I've beaten the game. I've beaten the version of the game I care about. That game is so difficult, but also so enjoyable. It's one of my favorite indie games in the past, like 10 years. I love it to death.
I don't even think I'm close to beating that game. Like, I can consistently get to like the second boss of it. But
which boss is that?
Fuck. I honestly
okay.
don't
Well,
remember.
the thing about the game is the more you progress, the different pathways open up, and so sometimes you'll not fight the same bosses. Because there's like, when you start, there's the concierge.
Yeah, the concierge is always the first boss you encounter.
Yes, you do have to fight the concierge, but the second boss you fight may be the clock person, or it may be the floating eyeball.
It's definitely the floating eyeball that I always gravitate towards. Like I can consistently get to him, but just I can't.
I took every side level I could to level up my character, and by the time I got to the Hand of the King, all of my stats were at 10, and my hit points were at 20,000.
Nice.
For anybody who doesn't know what that means, play the game. So I beat that.
Get good.
Get good.
Yeah. Get good.
I want to say, like, as a timeline wise, I probably have spent like 60 hours playing the game, or longer.
Yeah.
So that it took me that long to get there. The second thing I did was I got to take my would-be stepdaughter to the fair. We walked around the fair for an hour, then went to Big Lots, and I bought some bad movies, and we went back to her grandmother's house, and we watched some really bad movies. One was called Super Furball.
Oh God!
Now, Super Furball is a unbeknownst to me at the time when I got it, a Finnish movie that came out like 3 years ago.
Okay.
So you have this, like, it's a kids movie. So you have the kid, which is a girl. She's friends with a nerdy boy, but she's a shit friend.
Okay.
They're friends only when the other school kids aren't around, kind of deal, whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's awful in that regard. So her mom finally buys her a hamster. She falls asleep and is awoken in the middle of the night by some of the most terrifying CGI I've ever seen in my life. Picked up in a floating cab by a hamster and taken off to a dream world where a giant hamster tells her that she's going to be Super Furball and save the environment. And so whenever she drinks from the water bottle from her hamster's cage, she turns into a 4-foot tall, terribly rendered CGI flying hamster. You see, the herrings have gone crazy because of pollution, and it is a trip. It's a trip and a half. It is, if you know it's ironically bad, it's ironically bad, but it is not good. It is awful.
Yeah, I'm looking at the movie poster now. It's really bad.
It is a Finnish version of Fern Gully, if I've ever seen it.
You want to know something really sad?
What? There's a sequel.
Apparently, there's
a sequel that's either out or coming out.
Yeah, Super Furball Saves the Future.
Yeah. Ooh, it was something else. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is there's a new anime that came out recently. It's like in episode 2 or 3, and it's called Chainsaw Man.
Yeah.
I've heard of this.
Yep.
Chainsaw Man is the world is basically built around the fact that if enough people fear something, it will turn it into a demon.
Yeah.
And so Chainsaw Man is literally a human being looking entity that when he pulls the cord out of his chest, a chainsaw bursts through his brain.
Okay.
Blood shoots everywhere, and he's got chainsaws coming out of. He's a whole chainsaw. So besides that being, so if you know the protagonist is fucking over the top in an anime, you know everything else is going to be fucking nuts.
If a main character has a transformation sequence,
right, like that, especially. I'll say this: the one of the main super bads is the Gun Devil.
Jesus.
And the Gun Devil is like the size of the moon.
Okay.
And
I haven't gotten that far yet.
that's in the manga.
Okay.
The Gun Devil, spoilers, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine. At one point, 20 years in the past, wipes out 15% of the world's population in 2 minutes.
Jesus.
Because he's nothing but he looks like if you took the Cthulhu mythos like elder gods and strapped like a billion guns on both sides of an arm or a tentacle, that's what he looks like.
Okay.
It's pretty frightening looking.
See, you said it's like a gun the size of the moon. The first thought I had was
well,
like,
it's an entity the size of the moon.
the first thing I thought of was like the moon in Soul Eater, where it has the crooked smile and the eye.
Yeah, no.
For some reason, that was the first thing that popped up.
So it's pretty nutty. It's on the level of like Trigger animation. Like if you like over the top, ludicrous, super violent, super hyperkinetic, fast action.
I really like the animation.
The animation's really cool. They do a style of animation that's not really used as much and was really never utilized, which where they show like action progressing, it'll be like 2D art style, like from a comic book or a manga, where you see like actual drawing and things like that. So it's really neat in that aspect. I think that's what Ethan may be talking about. But it's only a couple episodes in, so I can't really dig deep into it. But it's pretty cool. I like it.
I think as of Monday, there was only 2 episodes released.
Yeah, 2 episodes out. So we'll see. Chainsaw Man. Check it out.
Jay, that's you.
Yeah, because you're still left, goddammit.
Yes.
Don't forget, you have to tell us what you've been doing, or you're contractually obligated.
I know.
Yes.
It was written on a napkin. Anyway,
But we did prick his finger and make him sign it in blood. So
is that like a blood-covered napkin in here? Gross. Ew.
Well, I'm not touching it.
It was. I'm not touching you. So you got off light, but you still have to do stuff. Here we go.
Yeah.
So just for me this week is another episode in our long-running Spelljammer series I'm running with my friends from work, and they got captured by gray aliens, and that was how the session ended, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay.
So we know what's coming up next.
I was looking at the
Fire in the sky. Baby.
Oh yeah.
Probing.
I was looking at because they got some of the Spelljammer D&D minis in there, and I saw some very interesting characters.
Oh yeah, I like the characters they brought in. First of all, killer clowns. That is an enemy that you can run into.
Okay.
So that's very cool.
I like it.
I love the.
Do they turn you into cotton candy?
Maybe.
You pop them in
Maybe.
the nose.
It's not that they turned you into they cocooned you in
they
cotton.
cocooned
Yeah. Pop
so,
in the nose.
so they could then drink your innards later. It was gross.
Yeah.
I loved it. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Watch it.
Yep.
Like, watch it ironically, then watch it unironically, and tell me which way you prefer.
Yeah.
Just go with that.
I think it could hold up either way, depending.
I saw that there was like a flump with like a Captain Pirate hat.
Yep, that's in there. Plasmoids are in there, which are basically just jelly people. That's pretty cool.
Think of
I like those
Osmosis Jones, and that's pretty much it.
I would rather not think of Osmosis.
It's less Osmosis Jones and more like the jelly captain from Airplane, except he's sentient.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a little bit more like that. But yeah, of course you have. I was about to call them hippogriffs, but they're just griffs, and they're just hippos with with safari outfits and hunting guns. It's very nice.
and they
I
all
love
have
it.
like monocles and shit.
It's great. They're very dignified.
They're missing a nice mustache.
I got the special edition books of it, and the main book for the campaign setting is the cover art is a monocled griff just looking at you the whole time.
Cool.
I enjoy it.
Nice.
It's also one of my
Lovely.
favorite front side storyteller screens I've ever seen in my entire life. Just the picture of a dead god in space while you're also making war with beholders as your ship is flying through the cosmos. I think, yeah. If that doesn't get you set up for a good session, I don't know what does. So there you go. That's pretty much it. I've scanned my brain, and that really nothing else of interest. Is my life is boring. It's totally boring.
Yeah.
Well, as for myself, as what Jody was talking about, Chainsaw Man, that was included in my week, and also playing some more Mass Effect. I'm trying to do as much of this like side quest before I go on with the main story. I got all of the people I could have for my squad, so I got the matriarch's daughter. I can't remember her name.
Liara?
Yeah, Liara. I got her.
She's an important character. You might want to remember her name.
How dare you not know Liara's name?
That is a pretty important character. But yeah.
But yeah.
Before Vermeer. I'm sorry, shit. It's been a while. I think you can do most every side quest, but they do get very tedious. I will keep that in mind.
Well, it goes back to what I was saying last week. Like, I like doing as much of the side quests as I can possible before I go in with the main story.
Yeah, I do too. I usually get to that point of no return, and they all have this. Every Mass Effect has this where there's a point of no return. So yeah, I think Vermeer is kind of the point of no return on there. But I think there might be one. I can't remember what's the thing directly after that might actually be the point of no return. But
I've gotten to the point where I've leveled up to where I've completely maxed out my charm.
yes,
stats.
you want to do that as quick as possible. In every Mass Effect, you want to put points into that, and only put points into either charm or what's the other one?
Intimidate or something?
Intimidate.
Yeah.
I never use it. I'm never a renegade because
again, we want our characters to have heart.
Well,
with anything,
like the responses that are the renegade responses are like super over the top. Like they're never.
There's no middle ground there.
It feels like you're going way too far. Like you get to committing like genocides and shit,
right?
With and you kind of already do that as a paragon, but you definitely do it as a renegade. But yeah, so where are you at? I know you said you were on Novaria last time.
I just finished up Novaria. I believe what we're doing now is we're trying to find Saren's spaceship.
Yes,
the big claw.
Sovereign.
Yeah. Is it Sovereign or Sovereign?
Sovereign.
Yeah, the Sovereign. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty much just a giant claw that flies through space. That's what it looks like.
Oh man, I'm really excited for you to get through this. This is
so yeah. That's pretty much what I've been doing. Chainsaw Man and Mass Effect.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. What I didn't ask you, what class are you playing?
I'm playing Infiltrator, which is soldier and tech.
Yeah, you're a sniper. Oh man, yeah. I didn't play an Infiltrator this time in 1, but I played it in 2 and 3. God, it's so fun.
Jeez. Anytime I play any like RPG style game, which this is kind of like an RPG,
it's basically
I always default to a sniper when I have my first playthrough.
In Mass Effect 2 and 3, you get like a tactical cloak to where you can just flip it on and you're invisible, so you can like move to different places. It's really like playing an Infiltrator in 2 and 3 is really fun.
I like these ideas.
You also
what I'm hearing.
Get an ability in 3 where when you go into your scope, you slow down time a little bit so you can make shots a little bit better. And there's these dudes who like come out with like riot shields, but they have a little space where they can see. And man, my favorite thing is just popping out, hitting them, and then one-shotting them in the head. Oh man, it's so great. It's so satisfying. But yeah, I love playing an Infiltrator.
That sounds amazing.
When I first played it, I played the engineer biotic one where you get like armor.
Yeah.
And in Mass Effect 1, when I replayed it, I played that class. I can't remember what the class is off the top of my head, but you get to where you're like almost you pop your like armor and you're almost invincible. So I'm just taking a pistol. I used a pistol the entire time. Both times I played Mass Effect 1, I used nothing but a pistol. Because I didn't like how the shotguns did.
Yeah.
But and then the other class, like, all you get are pistols. But you just pop it and then you're just walking forward with a pistol because like your armor is so high that they can't kill you. Like, it's so fun.
Is it good to like actually level up your Spectre ability?
Yeah. Because it gives you I can't remember what it gives you, but it gives you things that are very helpful.
Like I have the base ability Unity, which it revives a fallen team member to 40% health, I believe.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what you get from upgrading that because it's been a while since I played that one. Because like I said, I'm on 3 and to be honest, I haven't played it in quite some time.
Yeah,
but it's very helpful. I usually try and do that. I don't remember. I never used like Unity all that much, but like there's other things in there that you get that are helpful.
With me doing the side quests, I'm taking on like the higher level ones, so I'm constantly having to pop Unity a lot.
Yeah. You get a another thing. Who's your crew?
My crew, it's the I never remember their names, but it's the Talishar, the
Talia.
No, not Talia. It's
not Talia, is it? No, yeah, it's Talia. Tali.
Tali, yeah, Tali.
Yeah.
Tali,
Okay.
and Garrix.
Garrus. Yes.
Garrus,
Okay,
yeah.
that's a good choice.
So I'm pretty much I'm going full as much of the soldier ability as possible, while I'm also getting a balance of both tech and biotic.
Yeah, in that first one, I only ever ran with Rex and Garrus, because Rex is awesome and Garrus is also awesome in that first one. But Tally's
I love Garrus.
Tally's a good one too. Yeah, Garrus is one he's through the whole Tally, Garrus, Liara. They're ones that's like through the. You see Liara less in the second one, but she's still there. There's a side DLC that you get with her.
My mindset when picking my squad is, why would I have other humans when I can have aliens?
Oh yeah, the humans are so boring.
Yeah.
Ashley is incredibly boring, and
Diego,
I didn't remember
his name.
I can't remember the other guy because fuck him. I never used him after the first mission.
Yeah.
I also forgot that Ashley was like super racist in the first Mass Effect. Like she's really like anti-alien, and I'm like, man.
So you're
I
saying
banged
that-
you the first time I played this. I feel bad about
So
that.
what you're saying is she wouldn't be praying to the aliens?
No, she would not. But hey,
I'm changing subject now.
you can
changing the subject.
You can bang Tally in the second one and the third one.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Welcome to sexism in video games, ladies and gentlemen.
Jay,
Top 5. It's our top 5. This is top 5 bangable aliens in Mass Effect. This would be great.
Good God.
Jay, do we have any passenger feedback?
We do, yes, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get into the feedback, thank you very much for being passengers with us on the omnibus. If you would like to get some other friends involved in this, and they don't listen on the things that you are listening on, we are available on Spotify, Anchor, Google, and Apple.
You said it right this time.
I know, Jody. How else can they get in touch with us?
Well, I mean, they can get in touch with us by going to travelersontheomnibus@gmail.com and also directly messaging us on
That's
Spotify.
1L in Travelers.
Warning, new challenger approaches. I got good news and bad news, guys. We're on Twitter.
What?
Oh, yeah.
That's both the good and the bad news.
Yeah.
We're on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're doing that.
Yeah, at Travelers Omnibus, because when I tried Travelers on the Omnibus, it ended up being Travelers on the...
Yeah.
It's like, so no, we need to get the main parts in there. But we have a couple tweets out. Very happy about that. We're also on Instagram. See some pictures involving the subjects that we talk about on the show. It's very good stuff. Very nice. Thank you for knocking out all the email stuff. I appreciate that. So, but yes, we have a good amount of feedback this week, gentlemen.
Good deal. Good deal.
From our latest entry in the series, our one shot of Blades in the Dark. Our good friend Jason Holder over at Whiskey and Wrestling was, if y'all carry on with blades on one end. And so it's like, first of all, so again, thank you, Jason. I'm glad that we presented a very fun game of it to you, and enough so that you may want to join back up. And if we do, yes, I will definitely be giving you a call, tweet, text, or voicemail. tweet probably won't work, but everything else probably will. Our friend Kevin Gallo, Ronan Rusta on Twitch, and Kevin Gallo on YouTube. He said, so the overvolume throat singing bit at the beginning definitely vibrated my brain loose since I was using skull vibration headphones at work. So first of all, wasting company time on at work, normally bad, but wasting it with us, excellent, very good choice. 10 out of 10. So very much thank. Now the big one. This I had to call the sender of this to understand what the hell was going on. And
Lord!
And then when he explained it to me, it all made perfect sense. But just a little backstory on this. So there is a YouTuber called Uncle Roger. He's an Asian gentleman.
I'm a fan,
and he likes to look at videos of people cooking rice and just blast the shit out of them.
Yes,
it's great.
Okay.
It's absolutely great. So if we will all remember back, I believe it was the last Chalkboard where you failed to cook, where you failed to cook rice.
Yes.
After listening to the lot of, oh, by the way, this is from our friend Jason Kennedy, aka Hat, aka Siggy, aka I'll give him another nickname one day. But yeah, after listening to the lot of you, I want to call Uncle Roger for your crimes against rice. Now, I initially didn't understand that, so I called him for clarification, and he said the following: I'll forgive Ethan because he's young, but the rest of you, how dare you? And I'm like, he doesn't like the way we prepare rice, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Well, he wasn't talking about me. I didn't say
let me
shit
tell
about
you
rice.
how Uncle Roger prepares rice with a rice cooker. I don't have one of those.
Yeah. Because you're saving up for that air fryer.
Yeah, that's it.
Kennedy mentioned that part. It's like, yeah, just cooking in a rice cooker.
That's what Uncle Roger does.
Yeah.
The second bit was, and I saw this article after your previous conversation on Netrunner. So there's this very good one. I think it's over on TCG Player right now. It's basically, I think the name of the title is when publishers drop a card game. How do the player base pick it up? It's a very interesting read. In addition to Kennedy, also I believe Chris Gomez, another good friend of ours, had also shown the same, linked me the same video.
It's funny because when you said Chris, like I did not know who the fuck you were
Gomez.
talking about. Yeah,
Gomez, Christopher Aloysius Gomez. I don't know if that's his actual name.
It probably is.
It
is now.
But yeah, so it's a very interesting article. I've skimmed it a little bit, but basically it's about the efforts of the Netrunner community to continue Android, and specifically Android Netrunner, the release from Fantasy Flight after Fantasy Flight lost the license to the Netrunner mechanism. So I think it's very cool. It's not like I left the game actually a little bit before that. I think a lot of it had to do with LCG fatigue, which you're going to get in those games every so often.
Right.
But I think
we kind of all left. My reasoning was because they said like, hey, because they kept like whatever factions were doing good, then they smacked them down, and then they were like, hey,
it was a very heavy.
We're not going to do a banned
game.
list, but we're going to errata this card to where it says max one per deck.
And
so it really is.
And we're not going to do a banned list, but we're going to do a most wanted list, which means that you have to pay more influence for the card.
It's more confusing.
And then they had a banned list.
And then they just started with a banned list. So I was just like, and then they were like, okay, here's a new. It's cards that are already out, but here's a new starter set that changes what's legal and what's not legal.
Before the licensing was dropped, weren't they talking about turning it from a living card game into an actual TCG rotation or anything?
No, that
like
was
that?
never.
There was they have a rotation. Like the rotation just started right before they.
I think it was going to start, and that's when the license just like we're taking license back. Because the way it was going to work was you had you're six cycles in. When the seventh cycle drops, the first two cycles are no longer legal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you'd only have to be able to pull.
But then the stuff from the
7.
starter set was legal. But then they dropped a new starter set, which changed what was legal because what was in that starter set are cards that already existed. But then they changed like who the runners were and who they changed a lot of
That's
things.
way too confusing.
Yeah, it got super confusing, and I got tired of them saying like, okay. It really with mine it was the two factions that I played that those are the ones that got smacked down in this last time.
Anarch and Shaper, right?
No, Anarch and NBN.
NBN, that's right.
And then I just got tired of it.
Right. I named two a hacker side.
Yeah, I just got tired of it. And it was like because what's going to happen is if I go to another faction, then it's going to get smacked down.
It's going to keep happening.
Because it's just that's everything that happened. Right. It was just a cycle of that happening, and it got very frustrating. Yeah. drop that in our chat.
Yes,
I would
absolutely.
like to read that.
I will do that after the recording tonight.
Yes.
But let's see, there's that.
Alrighty.
I believe that is the majority of it, except to say, Jason Kennedy, you could talk shit about our rice cooking abilities. Why don't you come on the podcast and fucking do some of that? I know you're in Arkansas right now. I know it's like a 9-hour drive. I made it for you. You didn't. You make it for me. Come down to the podcast. We'll talk about rice and probably miniatures gaming because he's like one of the, like, as far as my friends go, like one of the oldest like miniatures gaming thing. He bought a lot of corn models, like $300, $400 in value for like $100, and he's working on all of them now. He is. Right now, it's a 75% hobby, 25% game. Jason, correct me if I'm wrong on this with another email and or tweet. Now that we have Twitter, but yeah, he's very good at the hobby. He slags himself a little bit too much, in my opinion. I think he's very good. I think he's very good at painting. I think he's very good at the gaming side of things. He's a very quintessential hobbyist in that thing, and I greatly appreciate him.
I'm hoping tomorrow that we get some. At least a game of Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Been putting together lists.
Yeah, I will unfortunately not be able to join
7.
that because tomorrow I'll be doing Blood on the Clock Tower. I'm saying that like, hey, come out to see Blood on the Clock Tower when this is going to be 3 days after it happens.
Yes.
So there you go.
Yeah, this is going to be in the future, so
Yes.
we might have played stuff. We might have not. Who the fuck knows?
We might have had to do some kung fu fighting.
Yeah, if
Acid
this
lightning.
if you're actually listening to this, then I guess the world didn't end. So there's at least that.
Or it did.
Yeah.
Like
And
that,
this was the last thing that.
Oh my god! Yeah, we'd like to make our apologies to the annals of time for being the last thing of human recorded history.
Yeah.
So there you go.
But hey, we would be in the history books.
The audio.
How would that work?
We'd be in History Audible.
Yeah, something
There you
like
go.
that.
History Audible.
If that
The
still
last thing
exists.
you hear before the web goes down.
Oh god, we would have just gotten on Audible and then the world ended.
Yeah, the last thing you would listen to is a bad dad joke about chemistry. That's
Are we
great.
talking about the new?
Well, that's assuming they shut it off at the first joke. God
Come
damn it.
on. I mean, it's a likelihood now unless you take that out. So
There's some ladies that get hot over dad jokes.
hey, email travelers on the omnibus at 1L.
Subject Brady Davis. Dad
Yeah.
joke milfs. Dad joke milfs.
Okay, I'm taking
I think
the
that
reins
they
real
don't
quick.
necessarily have to
Hold
be
on, wait a
milfs.
minute.
Oh,
Wait a
now-
minute.
now you're taking the
Wait a
reins.
minute.
I'm
I
taking
want
the
to. I
reins.
want to make that a chant. Dad joke milfs. Dad joke milfs. Dad joke milfs. I'll echo it so it sounded like more
Okay.
people went around with it
Yeah,
instead of you traitors.
Well,
Traitor.
as the
I was just trying to figure out if I don't think you necessarily have to be a MILF to be into dad jokes. I don't think that's a prerequisite.
So, ladies, if you're a milf or a cheerleader,
Oh
and
my
you like,
is that the only two things?
and you like dad jokes,
Whoa!
and
It
you
can
like
be more than two things.
Whoa.
Like, that's-
Okay, MILF, cheerleader, and business executive in a pantsuit. If you liked what you hear about his dad jokes,
Oh, man.
email Brady Davis at travelersontheomnibus@gmail.com.
As the host of tonight, I'm officially taking the
Yeah,
reins.
now
officially
you're
taking-
taking the
yeah, that
reins.
was like
Good
We
5
job.
literally
minutes
made
ago.
that reference out twice.
Okay.
Good job. We're an hour in, and you're starting to set
Well,
us straight.
we were having a decent conversation.
No,
And
we
then-
never
Was it?
have decent
Was
conversations.
it? We're trying to get out of here on a decent time.
We were
and-
listening to our amazing passengers and what they were talking about us for.
And how about your shit at rice
Man,
cooking?
just wipe
Yes.
that little. You got something on your nose there.
Why are there flies around your mouth?
Yeah.
Stop kissing ass.
You know what's a good time for right now?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our chalkboard.
Yeah.
Our topic for tonight, our top 5 horror movies
Yes.
Of all time.
of all time.
We couldn't come
Of
up with
all
any
time.
better spooky things, so this is what we were left with.
We could have, but Netflix aired most of them.
This is true. I don't know.
Top 5 Dahmer victims. Number 5. No.
Oh.
No.
Ah, gee.
Let them rest in peace.
Yes.
So, like always, the person who had the bullet last chalkboard, they were able to give it to one of the other 3. I believe it was Brady. that
Yes,
had
I
it.
gave
Gave it
Jody
to
the.
Jody. Jody has the
Jody.
I
Jody.
have the bullet.
Jody has the
Jody has the bullet.
Jody is the bullet nominee.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, I believe I'm gonna go first with the chalkboard because
Oh.
Okay, cool. Well, then I'll be the one scribbling the words on the board. There we go.
Awesome.
All right. So, my top 5. I'm gonna lead off with the number 5, which why wouldn't I?
Yes, we are counting up.
And we kind of talked about it earlier, which unironically is on my top 5. My top 5 is Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Yes. It is possibly the horror movie I've seen the most, primarily because of me being young. I see a clown on a DVD box, and my dad apparently likes the movie, so it is the one I've seen the most. I don't find it scary, but I find it comical, and I hold it dear to myself.
I know we don't usually interrupt people, but I do want to say we had different childhoods because the first clown that I saw was Pennywise from the It TV movie.
We'll get to it.
So I felt differently about clowns
We'll get to it.
growing up.
Okay. My number 4, Netflix had released a trilogy of horror movies last year called Fear Street, and it was kind of hard to like pick primarily one because all 3 movies followed the one storyline. So as the host, I'm going to bend this one-time rule. I'm just going to put the Fear Street trilogy because
I'm okay with it because I've heard that
it's not really. You can't really pinpoint one favorite movie out of all of them.
The second one is my favorite.
But I've heard good things about all 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yes. Fantastic movie. I very much liked the story. It takes on the like classic like slasher film, but it leads with a twist. Like this is a curse that's been happening for generations on generations, and I very much loved it.
Mm-hmm. And the trilogy like kind of works its way back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It goes from present day, the most present. It goes backwards in time,
Okay, yeah.
while also
I really need
going
to
back
watch
to the setting of the first movie. Mm-hmm. My number 3 is going to be Nightmare on Elm Street 2: Freddy's Revenge. This is possibly the first horror movie I've ever seen, and I saw it when I was 6, I believe. And I have this vivid memory of in the middle of the night, like my dad is asleep on the couch watching the movie. I'm the only one awake in the living room, all the lights off, and I see the main character with Freddy's knife glove chasing like the final girl throughout the house. It terrified me, and so I just have that image like burned in my mind. So my number 2 is going to be It Chapter 1.
Okay.
As Brady said, Pennywise the clown in the It TV show. I believe it was.
Yes.
TV
Tim
movie.
Curry, the Tim Curry played him.
Tim Curry's Pennywise. I didn't really like the original for some reason. Like
I don't remember anything from the original because I was so young. It's just I watched it and parts of it terrified me.
So your chapter 1 is that the new It movie?
Yeah,
the new It movie with Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise.
Okay.
The chapter 1 were all the kids of Derry. I think this is a very well done remake of the original It series. Like Bill Skarsgård does an amazing job with Pennywise. They take the gore that wasn't shown in the original series, and they actually show it in the movie, which I think helped it in this case. I think everyone did a phenomenal job. And my number 1 is going to be The Invisible Man from 2020.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
I believe it was Blumhouse that made it. Everything about the movie had me scared. Like, I don't do well with jump scares. The parts in the movie where like the dust is blown on the Invisible Man, you see him in the rain as you see his figure. Everything terrified me because I didn't know when I was going to be scared. And I absolutely hate jump scare movies, but I love this movie.
Yeah, I think that one's a good way to update the classic monsters. Like, I think they need to continue doing things like that with the new monster, with those classic Universal monsters. Yeah, that's a solid list. That's a solid list there.
So, yeah, that is me. Let's go with Jay next.
My number 5 is Kairo, spelled Kairo. It is the highest Japanese horror film on my list. Kairo was remade in 2006 as the movie Pulse. That remake is the worst remake of any movie of all time, period. Not just horror, all movies. Kairo is a very slow building, very almost philosophical kind of horror movie in which we're talking about the alienation of people as technology becomes more and more prevalent in our society. They've actually ghosts are able to come through the internet, and that's why it sounds goofy, and it's the reason why Pulse was so bad. But it really kind of explores this idea that we're all kind of drifting further and further apart from one another, and there's this loneliness, and nothing is lonelier than ghosts, and they're trying to basically drag us to them to try to not feel lonely anymore, and instead what it does, it makes us depressed and sad, and we eventually become ghosts ourselves. That is my number 5 on that one. My number 4 is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original. Not just because John Larroquette did the opening narration for it, New Orleans' own John Larroquette. Also so good and so iconic in that they brought him back to do the narration in the remake that happened in the 2000s, which actually is a very solid film. Jessica Biel, Arlie Ermy. I highly recommend the remake. But as far as that goes, that movie feels raw and real in a way few horror movies end up feeling. Mark Borchardt, who was the focus of the documentary American Movie, who is an indie director in his own right, he said that it has this kind of like science film quality to it as far as and just adds to that both the grittiness and the this is real, like this feels real, and that's why it's terrifying when like a 6'8" man clubs you to death with a meat tenderizer or hangs you up by your back on a meat hook. Like it feels like this is something that is happening. Just gross. Number 3 is the reason anybody knows about Tubular Bells, and that is The Exorcist. For most people, the scariest movie of all time. It doesn't hit me that way, but from a production level for The Exorcist, I think this is the best produced movie. Still to this day, I think it works. It just works as far as like a movie goes. If you see breath coming out of their mouths, it's not because they added CGI. Yes, he added too many goddamn C's, I think. So yeah, it's not the Exorcist. Get rid of that C. You just got to get rid of that first C. There we go.
Ethan, I wasn't going to say anything.
I was, because it's on my list at number 3. It's a very prominent spot. So yeah, but Max von Sydow, Linda Blair, who plays Regan in the movie. If you don't know who Captain Howdy is, stay that way, because then you will never have to worry about it. Just some of the, and legitimately in the terms of the word horror, where it is so like where it's reviling. Yeah. It's just, oh my God. The Exorcist is so good. Number 2 is The Ring, the 2002 Gore Verbinski remake of the Japanese movie The Ring. I had seen Ringu first. I had then seen The Ring in anticipation of seeing The Ring. I was not moved by The Ringu. The Ring is one of the best horror productions, obviously in my opinion, as it is number 2 on my list. There's so much stuff going on in that movie. The ending is a bit too CGI for me, and that's the reason why it falls just a little bit short of my number 1. But throughout that, Naomi Watts, there's a cameo by Brian Cox in the movie. The girl who plays Samara, the ghost girl in that, just fantastic. The opening is one of the best setups for any movie in the horror genre, as far as my opinion. And all I got to say is when the closet door opens, and if you've watched The Ring, you know exactly what I'm talking about. My number 1, I had a boy. His name was Jason. This is his birthday, and you killed him. Friday the 13th.
Okay.
Independent of its series, this is a horror classic, an absolute horror classic. I honestly think, obviously, the continue stretching out of the story kind of destroys it. But when you go back to that, first of all, Tom Savini, I've mentioned this before in the trivia episode that I did. Tom Savini's makeup work in this is fantastic. His special effects work is fantastic. The arrow through Kevin Bacon's neck still looks real to me. Like, oh my God, they just killed an actual child for a movie. Like, it's just so good. The buildups are very good. The jump scares are well paid off. The swerve at the end is one of my favorite.
Yes.
Betsy Palmer.
That's a really good swerve.
Betsy Palmer. Again, you have to divorce yourself from the entire series and even so much remembering the movie. When Betsy Palmer first comes on the screen, it's like, oh, who is this person? Oh, she seems nice. Wait a minute. Oh, God. And then okay, yes. Because, spoilers, you don't get her for all of the movie. You get her there at the very end, and then that's the reveal. So there is no really like who is the who done it in this. It's literally you find out what they are at the very end, but it hits just so fucking hard, and it's just a great movie. So yeah, my number one, Friday the 13th, and that is my list.
Brady, let's go with you.
Okay, so I'll be honest, this was kind of an agonizing list to make. My first three, 1, 2, and 3 came up pretty solidly. Like I didn't have too much. My first two definitely didn't have really any trouble. Number 3, it took a little bit of time to figure out, and I was still working on this list literally today. So I'll be honest, and it's because there were like every time I would think, okay, this movie and this movie, I would be like, well, but there's this movie and this movie. Like there was a glut of things that you know that could be on this list, and I've even been like rewatching some of these movies to try and get a better feel. So also some of the things that really like draw me into horror are not necessarily I'm not real big on jump scares, but I do like a feeling of dread in a movie. I also like feeling disturbed when I watch a feeling of being disturbed while I'm watching a horror movie. So a lot of my horror movies kind of have that in there. And that goes especially with number 5, a Korean movie called I Saw the Devil. This is in the Korean revenge subgenre, I guess. Now, other movies like, Old Boy and things like that, I don't particularly feel like they're horror, but in this one they are. It's this guy who's like a special forces almost, like his fiance gets murdered by this serial killer who is actually the main character in Old Boy. It's the same guy, Choi Min-sik. And he brutally murders her, and so this guy goes off to try and get revenge, but it actually turns a lot of like the revenge conventions on their head in very interesting ways, and it has a lot to say about the nature of revenge. But it is a bleak movie, and it's a rough watch, and because of that, that's why I think it goes from like thriller where the other ones are to this goes to straight up horror. So that brings us to number 4. Number 4 is The Descent. This is a British movie, I believe, and I'm only meaning the original British ending. Don't ever always watch it unrated, because the cut that was done for American cut the ending a little bit early and made it suck. But the ending of this is, again, very bleak, but it's this movie is very interesting because one, it's a mainly it's pretty much an all female cast of these of these women. One of the women lost her husband and her daughter in a car accident, and then like a year later they're going cave diving to try and her and her friends are to try and not get over it, but kind of help her through things. And they get down there and they find out that they're actually in a cave that they didn't know anything about, and there's other things down there. The monster effects are really good. Even before like the monsters show up, if you're claustrophobic, there are some parts of this movie that will. And I think, it brings out a little bit in me because there's a part where they're crawling through a very narrow spot, and it is so anxiety inducing. So even before like the actual monsters show up, it's like, oh my God.
Well, that reveal is also like a big deal because up until that point, like, are some of these girls like hallucinating what's happening,
Yeah. And there's even like, you can see the little cave creatures in the background if you look close enough in certain parts. But there are even parts of there where they're like trying to cross this gap, and it's very, but so even before that, there's these like moments of anxiety and these feelings of dread because you're like, oh my God, how are they going to get out of this place? It's a very, very good movie and with a very bleak but very like interesting ending of it. So that leads us to number 3. Number 3 is a French movie that is called Raw. RAW. This is directed by Julie Delcano. I can't remember exactly how to pronounce her name. This is the same woman who did the movie that just came out last year, Titan, which is a movie about a girl who fucks and gets impregnated by a car. And just as how that movie is kind of batshit and over the top, this movie is weird and disturbing in different ways. This is about this young girl who's vegetarian, goes to her family is a family of veterinarians, and they go to and she gets into this very prestigious veterinary school where her older sister is also part of, and as part of a hazing ritual, they make them eat raw rabbit's liver, and they also like dump blood on them. They do like a lot of like weird things in here, because I think in France like veterinary schools are like actually big deals and things like this. But she finds out that she has a taste for meat, and maybe not just animal meat. It's a tale about it's like a coming of age tale. But it also has some really disturbing parts and really, really rough watch. Jay might be seeing a pattern in my movies. So, that leads us to number 2. Number 2 this is where I get more into classic territory. Number 2 is The Shining. Stanley Kubrick's one of my favorite directors. Quick story about The Shining. So Stanley Kubrick was trying to figure out what he wanted to what's the next movie they wanted to make. So he got a whole huge stack of books and took them to his office and was like, I'm gonna start reading these books, and then I'm gonna figure this out. So then this is all from his assistant. His assistant, who is outside of his office, he has the door closed, and every once in a while she hears this thump, and it's him. He reads a few lines into the book, and then he throws the book against the wall, and she keeps hearing thump, 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 like every couple of minutes. And then eventually she stops hearing a thump, and then she goes in and she checks, and he's reading The Shining, which is also funny because there's a lot of things in the book of The Shining that he just says, fuck this, I don't want to make this, I'm going to make my own thing. But Shining is a very good example of this, isolation and the madness that brings. There's so much in this movie to pick apart. There's a documentary called Room 237 where they go through all these crazy theories. It's a really fun documentary to listen to watch, because it's just like some of them are nuts, but like the performances are so good. Jack Nicholson is great. Shelley Duvall is great. Even and also fuck Stanley Kubrick for driving this woman insane during this, Oh yeah. But it's a great movie, and it's probably really high up there with the best Stephen King movies. So yeah, that's The Shining. So number 1 has been mentioned before. Number 1 is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I love this movie. It is so brutal. The story of how this movie was made is insane. They made themselves miserable to make this during the famous dinner scene. All the food had spoiled. So what would happen was the crew would in between takes, they would run outside and throw up because it was so gross in there. And the guy who played Leatherface, was it Gunnar Hansen? Is that his name? Gunnar.
I believe so.
Yeah. Like by that time, like they'd done so many takes that he was like going crazy from the heat. And he actually,
because they were in Texas, right?
Yeah. They were in Texas, and the house had no air conditioning.
Of course not.
It was brutal, and they had like animal parts all over the place. It's a brutal movie, and it's a brutal story. And there's not a lot of gore on screen. It's less gory than you actually remember.
Right, because like the hook scene that Jay was talking about earlier, they don't really necessarily show her going on a hook, but it's implied enough to make it way more disturbing.
And I think
than actually seeing it.
The implication in some when the guy gets hit with the hammer or the meat tenderizer or whatever, like that's kind of a jump scare, but not really. But the brutality, but you don't really see any blood. But like the body laying there and just twitching,
shaking, yeah,
like that. That fucked me up when I first watched it. I was like, holy shit. It is just like it's a great movie, and I watch it pretty much every year around Halloween time, just because it is so brutal, and the sound effects, that buzzing sound that's in the beginning when they're showing the like that is such a weird sound. Yeah, so that's my list.
Solid list.
I will say beyond solid. I'd say it's pretty spectacular list.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I really
So much so that he's copy pasting, and that's his list as well.
Oh yeah, that's 100%.
like there's so many, man. Oof.
Let's hear it, Jody.
You want to hear it? Here it goes.
Yes.
A boy in elementary age bracket is hanging out in his apartment complex, and this little girl and an old man move in next door, and the kid gets bullied a lot. It's like, it feels like a coming of age movie. In fact, if you didn't know what you were watching, it just came on TV or something, you would think, oh man, it's cool coming of age story, but the atmosphere would tell you otherwise. You could just pick up from the atmosphere that things are not exactly what they seem, and it gets they become friends, and she's really weird, but kids are weird, and then the bullies take things way too far, and then there's a scene in a gigantic swimming pool, and Let the Right One In is my number 5. The original Swedish, I think it's Swedish.
I think it's Swedish.
Swedish film. It's a vampire film, but the vampire is like 10 or something like that. When they did a remake's decent, but
I heard good things about the remake.
I've seen
too.
the remake. That's Chloe Grace
Moretz.
Merlot. Remake's decent, but I think it's probably one of the best modern stories about a vampire. Like in the original category of it, you normally don't see that kind of storytelling. The plot, everything makes sense in the entire thing, and it's great. My number 4, a woman covered in blood busts into like a local like general store in the middle of the woods and starts raving about her friends have all died, and she doesn't know what happened. She can't recall what happened. High Tension, the French.
Yes.
The French film High Tension, which is a great movie, especially if you like, mysteries involved in your slashers, which normally doesn't really, happen very often. I would put it almost on the same level of the original Friday the 13th on reveal of what's really going on.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to really go into High Tension because I want people to go see that.
Yeah.
My number 3 is another foreign film, and a woman is going to ballet school. It's Suspiria. Number 3 is the original Dario Argento Suspiria with Jessica Harper. The movie has so much Technicolor, it's like ludicrous. The few jump scares that they have are really fucking good and terrifying. That movie sells atmosphere probably better than most even Italian horror movies at the time. So Suspiria is my number 3. My number 2, a widowed man living with his son has been mourning for too long. So his best friend who works at a TV studio that makes commercials decides that maybe when we make our next commercial, we could also audition a partner for you. And so Audition is my number 2. This is one of the very few movies the first time that I seen it during certain parts, it made me physically ill.
Yeah.
Just due to some disorientation in some of the scenes. It is really brutal, disgusting, but also probably one of the best horror films I've ever seen. Definitely like the top Japanese horror film for me personally. And my number one is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, wow.
I saw this probably like I have a quick backstory for me, like in case the people listening, our fellow passengers have it. I grew up in a very sheltered household, so I didn't really get to experience a lot of worldly things until I was much older. But Texas Chainsaw was probably one of the first quote unquote modern horror movies that I searched out and watched as soon as I had the opportunity to. Yeah, that movie got me. In fact, the only thing that pulled me out of it was the guy in the wheelchair.
The grandpa?
No. The other college kid that was.
Oh,
with him.
yeah.
Yeah.
The funny story with that is that as we, the audience, hate this guy, everybody on the set hated him as well. Like he was just as much of an asshole to everybody.
He was really obnoxious. He's like, I'll go with you. Let me go with you. It's like, shut up.
It's actually kind of satisfying seeing him getting the fuck chainsawed out of him.
The scene I wanted to say about the movie that was brutal while they were filming, and I'm glad no one else said it first, was the scene where she falls into the bones on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
She had to do that like so many times. There's a scene, just to establish for the listeners, there's a scene where like right before or right when she's being introduced to the family in the dining area, she falls, or it is, I can't remember if she falls. I think she falls, or it's thrown into a floor full of bone carcass, and like splinters of bones got in the actress's arm and elbows,
feathers and all kinds of
they had to do it like, I don't know, like 30 or 40 times to get just the right shot of it. That movie is brutal on all levels. The iconic scene where he gets hit in the head as soon as the door opens and his legs are shaking, like that's so realistic for a movie that came out in like 74 or 75. It's bleak. Even at the end, when the final girl gets away, is she really safe? Because her brain is completely gone.
Yeah, that was the thing, because there was a recent. I made sure that every time that I mentioned it, I said the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because there's a new one that came out called Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
And the most insulting thing about that is they're like, oh, the girl who was the final girl, she's coming back, and she's the and it's like she's like a Texas Ranger or she's some law person, and she's coming back to get Leatherface, and it's like, no, the whole point of that original movie was that she is a broken person.
Yeah.
Like at best, she's in like a mental institution for the rest of her life, because she has witnessed so many horrible things.
She's definitely in a padded cell for the rest of her life.
So I don't, and the woman who originally played her was dead, so they didn't even they just had to get some other old lady to play her. It was very disappointing.
And this family, if you want to call it a family, they're not just crazy. They also like eating people.
Yeah.
In fact, the not grandpa, but the oldest of the family has a barbecue stand next to the gas station that sells human meat in the barbecue.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's so many levels of awesome in that movie.
If I have to say one thing about your list, Jody, I thought it was going to be a list of movies I did not know. And then Texas Chainsaw appeared.
Okay.
Well,
But
you probably don't know some of the films that are up there.
From reactions from both Jay and Brady, I'm going to go out on a limb and say they are also fantastic horror movies.
I will say this might be the I'm going to throw Humble out of the. I think this is the best like chalkboard group of lists that we've done. Like these are all 5 very solid lists. even though like some of these I are movies that I don't particularly like, but I do realize that they are good movies.
So, like when Brady was talking about his, some of his choices when he was having to make his list that were difficult, I also had the same situation. I've seen, I'm not trying to brag here, but I've seen over 1,000 horror films.
Yeah.
And, sometimes...
You should do a podcast about that.
Yeah, I do.
It sounds like a really good idea.
Thing about it is the thing's not on my top 5. I thought really hard about that decision because it is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. But after doing chalkboards with you guys for a while, I was thinking it still is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. But I'm trying to cultivate what I think is like, notes of when I saw these films, just like some of the music things that we've done and how important the films were when I saw them and who I saw them with, also being a factor. Also, I think over the years, because I've seen The Thing so many times, I've become desensitized to that movie for the most part. And it had an impact on me when I saw it for the first time, but not on the same level as Texas Chainsaw Massacre did.
Yeah.
And also all the other films that are on in my top 5 also had a very like deep impact on my cinema tastes and such. So
For me, like one of the big things that I thought about when making this list was, especially when it comes to like horror movies, and I kind of do this with like films in general, but really with horror movies is how much do they stick with me?
yeah,
How often do like those they like parts of the movie just pop into my head and I have to like turn them over in my mind,
right.
And these 5, and there's other, and that was the big, I think that was one of the reasons why I really like, especially with those last 2, like it really was difficult because there's a lot of like horror is one of my favorite genres, and there's a lot of these movies that even though I might have just watched it once, like I keep coming, like it pops into my head and
I've only seen Audition 3 times. That's a movie where you don't want to do that too many times. Yeah. And to me, it's still in my top 5 just for how like strong of a
most
film
horror
it is.
movies you're not gonna watch over and over and over. Some
Right.
you can, but a lot you're not, and especially most of the horror movies that I really like.
Yeah.
They can really mess with you if you watch them
you have
too
to have
much.
like a comedy movie cleanse or something.
Yeah, I've had to do that before.
So my philosophy behind my list was, it's 2 questions. The first one, what did horror right? And then the second part is, what did film production right?
Okay.
And those pairings don't happen a lot. Sometimes you have these kind of avant-garde, very well-directed, very well-acted horror movies that just don't hit home because it's too well done, I guess is the best way to put it.
No, I get
and
that.
on the flip side, there are some fantastic horror movies that lack in direction. My number 6 was Saw, and it was very close.
Yeah.
The first,
Yeah.
Okay.
The first, because for me, I went to that movie sight unseen up in Oxford at the old movie theater that was just across the street from the west side of campus. And again, sight unseen, it's like, I want to watch a scary movie. Oh, what's this Saw thing? Because I hadn't even heard about it.
Right.
That is one of 2 films I've ever been in where the entire audience, and it was about a half-packed theater because it Saw hadn't really hit yet. It actually, the more word of mouth that got out, it just went crazy. That's one of 2 movies I've been in where everyone was standing up at the reveal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Everyone had lost their mind on that. I think it did the production fantastically. Where I feel it failed and why it just missed out is the horror didn't hit as hard as it did for the 5 movies that are on.
It was more of a really gory mystery film.
Yeah, it was more of a police proceed. Like the first one is way more police procedural than it is horror film.
My problem with the first Saw especially was that I did not go into it blind. Like I knew the twist. Unfortunately, I really wish that I could have experienced. That
I did
movie.
experience it blind.
That would have been really cool. Like I had even watched. I think I definitely watched 2 before I'd watched the first one.
To this day, I believe the first Saw movie is possibly has the best plot twist.
It is definitely
in
up
all of
there.
cinema.
It is definitely.
Well, I will tell
high
you.
up
I'll
there.
tell you, Ethan. The High Tension has a reveal. I wouldn't say it's like these reveals are like different levels of but it's got a really good reveal in it. As well as the original Friday the 13th.
I was gonna make a statement, but I'm going to about High Tension, but it might spoil what that.
Yeah, it's really hard to talk about that film
shit.
without spoiling shit.
It's really interesting that now, like lately, a lot of people have soured on the twist of High Tension.
Really,
which I don't particularly see.
Well, we're talking what 25, almost 30 years between, because it was what mid 90s.
No, High Tension was mid 2000s.
Mid 2000s. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're just talking about to be 20 years.
Yeah.
It's a new generation of criticism. I mean, just is. So there might be something to do with there. Want to do a little bit of admin here, just for a little bit. 4 top 5 lists, so 20 entries. Only one entry appears on multiple lists and appears on almost every list. So we've already put, just in the unranked file, we put the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in our pool of top 5 of all time.
Yeah.
Again, 20 movies. Only one crossover, so that it to me it covers a huge group. So I'm very happy about that.
That's one of the reasons why I think this is really
the nicknames for ours. I was on stick for Ethan, Jody's, and Brady's. For Ethan, I wrote Creepy Clowns because you have Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Obviously, you have It. Obviously, but I would also say Freddy Krueger is very clown-like. He likes to play with the funny. He plays.
By the second one, he is starting to be. He's starting to be more of the.
It's been he's more silly than he, because even the first one, like when he cuts his fingers off, go this is God. Like it's very, it's
I think the second one is
This
like
is the face of
up
God.
until like 7 is the silliest nightmare.
yeah, no, that's entirely true. Absolutely right there.
Dream Warriors is my favorite.
For
nightmare.
Brady, I went horror through adversity because they're, especially in the top 2 movies, but I think also in The Descent they had
in all 5 of them.
there were
it is-
major production, like what the fuck are we doing moments in all of these.
I Saw the Devil kind of flips that. It's not the good guy who deals with adversity. They do a very interesting thing with that.
Yeah, I was doing both in front of the camera and behind the camera. because
Oh,
I know
yeah, yeah, a
Like,
lot of
again,
those.
those top 2, the production. Again, fuck you, Stanley Kubrick,
Yes.
for what you did to Shelley Duvall and making her not want to do acting anymore. I'm just saying. Man. For Jody, I have Foreigner Horror. I actually had
I was like, are all of these going to be foreign movies?
that's what I was thinking.
This is going to be awesome.
Well, if you think of Texas as another country, then yes, it's all
I mean,
five,
pretty much
five
basically,
foreign
yeah.
films.
4 out of 5,
Yeah, and very strong horror films from those countries.
Some of the best horror
And then-
films from each country.
And
Yeah.
then Ethan gave me the touch of classical horror, which I will rebut back because I'm going to say this right now. Absolutely no Universal monsters. No Dracula, no Frankenstein, Creature from the Black Lagoon, no Mummy, no Wolfman.
None of those scare me.
Yeah, that's the thing is like they're those are harder to watch nowadays and actually be scared of. There are like older movies where you can watch them and be scared of them. But those for the most part, there's some parts of like the Mummy that can be scary.
To me, more creepy, but yeah.
The Frankenstein reveal still gets me.
Okay,
Because he opens the door with his back, walks in walking backwards, and then turns around and then it starts snap zooming into his face. I thought I still think that is like, if again for 1931 or 32, that's a fantastic piece of production right there. Brady,
I would say neoclassical horror.
Ooh, I like that touch of neoclassical horror. There we go.
Yeah.
So Brady,
I'll fix that right now.
All right, there you go, Brady. Where the fuck is Martyrs?
Martyrs is not a movie that I'll be honest, I've only ever watched Martyrs once, and it still sticks into my head. And there's still parts of this movie that I watch.
Martyrs was near my top 2, but
It's up there, but I really kind of discounted it because, man, it's a rough watch.
The point of Martyrs is very blatant.
I keep saying like, I need to rewatch Martyrs, and I just
Can't do it.
don't because it's rough.
again, the point of martyr, and I usually like a little bit more subtlety in the points I'm making and stuff. As far as when I'm watching movies, the point of martyrs is blunt. It's blunter than a dull axe on wood. I mean, it just is.
Yes.
It's just, but like that almost cracked into the top 5.
Yes.
It falls just below Saw for me, just because of how visceral that is. It makes it almost unwatchable.
Yeah, I think Raw is kind of where like that's kind of, I wouldn't say replaced it, but like that's the
In
kind
that
of
vein.
See, to me on your list, I think
it's a
Raw
French extremity movie.
I think
so
Raw
like,
replaces High Tension. Like, had you not
It
seen
is,
Raw with
yeah.
High Tension been on there?
no, because I liked High Tension, but I don't love it. Yeah, I think I like High Tension and I appreciate High Tension way more than I actually like enjoy it. But yeah, but they're all in that same, like what they call the French extremity that came out in the early 2000s starting.
Yeah. Jody, you mentioned Technicolor with Suspiria. Suspiria was actually the last film filmed in
with
Technicolor.
Technicolor, yeah.
Oh wow.
And yeah,
The colors are like
those reds,
vibrant.
Those reds. If you want disgusting, maggots filmed in Technicolor.
Yeah.
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 It's god, it's visceral. Now I'll also say
don't like
this,
that idea.
Jody, if you haven't had a chance yet, you really need to watch the remake.
I know I do.
Of the two,
I know,
think,
yeah.
of the two, actually, I think it is the better movie. Suspiria is good. I don't want to discredit that. I do believe the original Suspiria by Dario Argento is amazing. But the new version just weaves so much more real and so much
Right.
more horror like together, and it makes it kind of like the horror moments in Suspiria to me work outside of the reality that they've created, whereas in the remake, that horror and that reality are just so interwoven
I
together.
will say that I will probably enjoy it, but I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it necessarily more than the original because even though it's a horror movie, it falls into that Italian mystery genre.
Yeah.
the giallo,
giallos,
yeah.
and you don't really know what's happening until like 2/3 in of what's really going on in that movie.
There's another Argento giallo. I cannot remember that. It's like red something, but there is a scene, and it's so off-putting.
That's not Argento. I don't think.
That's not Argento.
I think that's Bava. Are you talking about Deep Red?
yes.
It could be Argento. Him and Bava, Mario Bava, were doing a lot of films during that time.
Somebody at this table. Please
Yeah,
look that up
yeah.
for me.
It's probably
called Deep Red.
Deep Red.
The scene though, again, and
No,
what
that's Dario.
Okay, it's Argento.
It's Argento. The scene is worked best actually without the soundtrack running because the guy walks into this like empty study. Someone is watching him. You know that someone's watching
Right.
because you have POV shots that are as if someone was watching them. And then all of a sudden, this side door opens up and this doll on a bicycle charges
I've
right
seen
at
pieces
him.
of this.
That
yeah.
scene,
It's so fucking scary,
Here's the
man.
thing.
Yeah.
That scene when you take the
Unnerving.
soundtrack out is great. However, during the entirety of the scene in the original release, there's this disco soundtrack running in the background, like and like
Yeah.
there's no bite to that scene.
Yeah,
you take that out, it
because of
becomes the fucking scariest thing you've ever seen in your fucking life.
That's happened in a couple of Italian horror movies I've seen where they did that shit. Yeah.
That sounds like something I'd expect in Killer Clowns.
Yeah.
Just the dog coming out.
I love the popcorn guns.
Yeah.
I love popcorn guns.
I appreciate that we have like a B movie kind of thing on there with Killer Clowns. Like
Yes.
that's like I said, I think this is a really good set of lists.
The
Like,
other
this
one that in my brain could have breached the top 5 was Night of the Creeps, which would have been another B movie and like a literal celebration of the B movie.
I
movie.
contemplated putting two different, not on the same list, but one or two of the different B films because I love Brain Damage so much.
Okay. Yeah.
And Evil Dead 2.
yeah.
But I just couldn't. It couldn't make it through everything else that I wanted to put up.
Yeah. There was so much. Like I'm really enjoying this because we're in kind of a golden age of horror right now because you have this. I don't like the term, but it's the only thing that I really know to describe it, but the idea of like the elevated horror that we're in. Again, I don't particularly like that term, but there's so many like good horror movies that are coming out.
If there would have been
nowadays.
anything in Mandy that actually scared me, Mandy was like creeping into my thoughts. But
I seriously thought about Midsommar.
Oh God, yeah, Midsummer.
And,
I really
and what's
fucking
the
like
other
that
one?
movie.
It's Midsummer and
The Witch and
The Witch.
Hereditary.
Hereditary.
Yeah.
Hereditary.
Yeah. Hereditary.
Hereditary.
Small, well, not so small. Spoiler. It like inadvertent decapitation scene.
Yeah, like
Inadvertent, spontaneous combustion.
Yeah, that too. Just,
yeah,
it's all
there's some disturbing stuff for me. What is the dude's name? I can't remember who.
I know who you're. Yeah,
directing him. I like Midsummer better.
Midsummer is really good.
But I do appreciate
It
Hereditary.
helps
a
that
lot.
like the best actress right now of her generation, Florence
Right.
Pugh, is in that movie and
Right.
getting it out of the park.
She is phenomenal.
One thing I'm noticing with all of these lists, and I'm looking at Jody's shirt, Halloween is not on the list.
No, it's not.
Halloween is not on there.
Well, Halloween's not on there. Let's see. We represented Friday the 13th. We represented Nightmare. I don't consider Texas Chainsaw Massacre a slasher.
No.
Though really and truly, like it kind of fits in there. But you also don't have things like Black Christmas isn't on there.
yeah,
Right, which those came out like a year apart from each other.
yeah,
Slasher genre really didn't exist prior to 1979.
What was that movie? What was
Yeah.
that movie with Brooke Shields? Don't something Alice. Sweet Alice or
something like that.
It's I think
Like, that's another
I
one of
think
the
Sweet Sweet Alice
proto-slashers.
is the name of
Yeah.
it.
The slasher genre is not something that I super enjoy.
Right.
I don't. A lot of people, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing. It's just I don't do it. I don't watch like quote unquote bad horror movies just to enjoy them. I don't really enjoy that. Like something like Killer, like it has to be like super over the top, like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, like that. But like most B movies, like I don't super enjoy.
And
There has to be some kind of hook in there,
Right, and for me,
over the topness.
not the humble brag.
I
but
know what you did last summer had a hook in it.
Yeah.
But I've seen all of them personally. I've
Yeah.
seen pretty much mostly all of the slashers.
Shit, no Scream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no
Scream's
Scream.
not on here. That's kind of fascinating.
So for me,
that
like
when I watched Scream 2 before I watched Scream 1, so like that kind
no.
of list.
So if I personally put like any sort of like slasher film on there, it's like, oh, what's better, Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, or the first Friday the 13th versus the first Halloween movie versus this? It's like I don't want two of those on my list.
Yeah.
So now it's like, oh, you think Friday the 13th is better than Nightmare on Elm Street? And it's like, well, they pretty much all kind of like share the space, except for, Friday the 13th has a mystery reveal to it, and Nightmare on Elm Street is just like a straight up really good horror movie.
Yeah.
So there's so many factors.
Yeah, there's a lot with that, and like I said, that's just not a subgenre that I'm super into. I can enjoy those movies and appreciate those movies. It's just not ones that I.
And also, unfortunately, not trying to discredit anybody's viewing tastes or whatnot, but a lot of people, that's all they know on horror movies is nothing but 80s slasher films.
Yeah.
And I've seen way more than that.
I would say it's even worse than that. They know secondhand about 80s horror movies, and they actually haven't seen them themselves.
I will say I fall into that category because yes, I watched Nightmare 2, Killer Clowns, Tim Curry's It when I was extremely young, but that wasn't purposeful. Those was like me watching tidbits of it.
Well,
And-
you
and
were also young and there.
Yeah.
I didn't ask to watch it.
Being young
either.
and there. I didn't
My
ask
mom
my
till the day she died would I would say, hey, I watched it around y'all and it messed me up, and she was like, no, you did not watch. We did not let you watch it. And I'm like, yes, I remember that the fucking teeth coming out of the cloud. I remember that very vividly. And it fucked me up.
I am as fucked up as I am because when I was 7 and Salem's Lot came on television because it was a made-for-TV movie.
That was the one with James Mason. It wasn't.
I don't remember.
As the old.
I've
man
only seen
vampire.
it once, Jay, because it gave me nightmares for a year because I was 7 and my dad talked my mom into getting a TV for sports because, Pentecostal.
Yeah.
And she was doing a church thing. He's like, hey, Let's watch this
Wait.
horror movie together.
I'm having trouble drawing the line between Pentecostal. Wait a minute. Hold. I started having a hard problem with Pentecostal and sports. However, just quick story, and then we'll start convincing about the top 5.
Okay.
I was a Catholic groomsman in a Presbyterian wedding that happened at a Pentecostal church. And when we got to the church, the stained glass that was over that, like the window that was kind of like on the roof, looked like Jesus was spiking a volleyball on a bunch of sinners. And I'm like,
Well,
Church
that part
would have been
tracks.
way cooler.
That's the first part of your story that tracks.
And so now I get why Pentecostal. Like, I had forgotten that I'd buried it in my subconscious.
Right.
And now I get it. Yeah. So I apologize for that tangent. I have one last question to ask.
Sure.
Okay.
We mentioned Golden Age of Horror. We mentioned Blumhouse.
Yeah.
And especially on Ethan's list with The Invisible Man and the Fear Street trilogy, he shows up there. I don't think he shows up in our list. Is it just us 3, or does the Blumhouse equation don't work with people that are over 25 or 30?
I think Blumhouse has put out some good movies, but their philosophy is to put as many out as cheaply as possible.
It's very Roger Corman, in
and
that
it has like
Drag me to hell.
the quality of them is wildly different. There's a couple that are really good. The Invisible Man being one of them. The Invisible Man is phenomenal.
The lead actress in that's
Elizabeth
the same one,
Moss.
That's the same one from Handmaid's Tale.
Yes,
What,
she is a great actress.
Yeah,
What
she's
studio
fantastic.
did The Quiet Place?
That
We didn't even mention that one.
Yeah.
that might have been that wasn't A24.
I think
That might have been Blumhouse.
Did we mention any A24 movies?
No. But a lot of those, like Midsummer, that was close on my list. A lot of them I have watched and appreciated. Like I really liked It Comes at Night. I really liked The Witch. I really liked The Lighthouse.
It Follows was a very good one for
Yes,
me.
It was
Follows.
decent.
Like the notion of a sexually transmitted
I like It
curse.
Follows.
Yeah.
I liked the Babadook. I think those
Babadook's
came out around
good.
the same time, and I kind of liked the Babadook a little bit better. But
There's
those
no
were on my
Conjuring
list.
on there either, for that matter.
I don't like The Conjuring. The Conjuring halfway through the first Conjuring turned halfway into an exorcism movie, and I
did.
don't watch exorcism movies.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that.
And fuck that movie for pulling a fast one on
Swerve.
All right.
me.
Now I must ask a question, Jody.
Yes.
Who gets the bullet?
Man, I don't know if I want any of these movies going away, to be honest with you.
Well,
This is
you got it. Well, it's not
whoever
gonna be
you're
on
giving
you.
it to has a very tough choice.
A quick interjection. It was Paramount for a Quiet
Paramount.
Place.
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that makes sense.
That
Thank you
tracks.
for that interjection.
Yes.
Interjection.
That tracks.
There we go. That's better.
I can't
The
spell
Black Coat's
Exorcist.
Daughter. That's another really good.
That's another good
A24
one,
movie.
yeah.
Which one?
The Black Coat's Daughter.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that
Really,
yet.
really good.
All right. So
Who's
Brady gave it to me last time.
Mhm.
Long pause.
Yeah. While you're thinking, I could talk about some other things that I didn't put on.
Yeah.
You know.
What are some honorable mentions?
We there's no found footage on here, and that kind of hurt. because,
Blair Witch would have probably been my only one for
No Paranormal Activity.
Last
I do love-
broadcast.
that. Last broadcast
I do
would have been
love
for you. Yeah.
There's the Poughkeepsie tapes. There's most of the VHSs. VHS 94 would have been almost made it on my list because I think that of the 4 that's out right now, I think there's actually a new one out. But of the ones that I've watched, like that's the best one.
I would say the first Paranormal Activity movie.
The first one's decent.
I like in a vacuum. I like the third one the best because the atmosphere and the scares in that one are the best. It's just when you take it as a whole as part of the entire story, it's
I like
it's bad.
Paranormal Activity, the marked ones, because I went with a group of 5 friends from my previous employment, and we just had a fucking ball with that one. One of my favorite one, Johnny Parkman. If you can hear me, sir, I hope you're doing well. The guy brings out his shotgun and goes, "Oh, that's a chrome-plated shotgun. These bitches fuck."
I forgot about Phantasm
Yeah.
Phantasm's
and
also.
Poltergeist.
What about Puppet Master?
Shit. Full Moon. God damn it.
I'm good.
Yeah, Puppet Master's good, but subspecies. I don't know. Ethan, I'm giving you the bullet.
I have the bullet.
Ethan has
Yeah,
the bullet.
you have to make the horrible decision.
Make an
You
awful
don't necessarily have
decision.
to take it right.
No,
this second,
we can talk about things.
But
I I actually know what I want.
Oh, no.
Oh shit!
Well, go for it.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay, glad you picked the right one.
I don't know if I really want the backlash.
Do it for the backlash.
It
I
can't
took
be
Zelda
it couldn't
off
be
the
any
fucking
worse than
chalkboard.
Zelda.
Zelda and John Cena. He's assassinated Link and
Fuck
John
that
Cena.
chalkboard.
Yeah.
I'm gonna shoot The Shining.
All right, it's shot.
Okay.
The Shining has been assassinated
Okay.
by Ethan Skinner.
Okay.
Ethan, I hate you.
That was already pre-established.
No. Like that was all
so-
a bit. Like now I just really hate you. Like it's all real now.
I want your reasoning for why.
I did not like The Shining. Like I've watched it multiple times when I was younger. Even as an adult.
No, you're an adult. You drank
Legally, you are an adult,
You
but in
drank-
other ways, it's up in the air.
You made your decision to drink Peach Crown Royal, so
Yes.
yeah. It's,
Is there anything
I
you
did
could
not
say
like it.
specifically of why you don't like it? I just want to know. I'm not trying to be
Like
facetious.
when it comes to like the story, yes, I know Jack Nicholson's character. There's something mentally wrong with him. There's this other worldly entity that's like whispering to him, "Hey, these people are bad. You need to get rid of them. You need to save yourself."
Can I say
No. I'm letting him talk.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Continue.
It just didn't. To me, it just didn't like feel right to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not one of those movies. I can appreciate The Shining for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Just me personally, I do not like The Shining.
So you have a man who is struggling. He's a former alcoholic. He gets married to him. Is that his child or is that
Yes.
already?
That is
okay,
his child.
Okay.
That's his child.
He's an alcoholic, but he's trying to kick the sauce.
Mm-hmm.
You have this hotel that's got a history, a really fucked up history. You have being cut off from the world pretty much with like no communication from anybody or really any chance of being able to escape from this bottled area. You're almost choking from claustrophobia inside this ginormous hotel. I mean,
I know as much as Brady wants to punch me in the face right now.
I
won't
wanna punch you in the face
because
right
I'm
now.
an adult, but I do.
I like
You're not my favorite person.
I
right
like
now.
the stereo responses of "I don't want to punch you in the face right now." Brady with Jody like "I want to punch you in the face right now."
I don't know if this is like from what I think like my picks compared to everyone else's. Like
Your picks are garbage. They're ass.
I
take back everything that I said.
Jesus Christ!
3/4 of this list is very good.
I did not think The Shining was scary. I just did not like the movie.
can I tell you something?
Go for it.
Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 almost bankrupted the company. It's the worst Nightmare movie compared to anything else, with the exception of the reboot that happened like a couple years ago. Financially, box office.
Yeah.
That was what Dimension Films.
Yeah, I believe it was Dimension Films. It almost bankrupted them. And there's a lot of really weird suggested things in that film. I'm not going to go into what they are, but if you have some mild research
there's
into it,
subtext.
you can it's right there in your face. But
Almost text, but it's
right.
Jay, would you like some input on my decision?
I don't mind your shooting of it. I like The Shining.
Yeah.
Please understand, I like The Shining.
There's a lot of good stuff up there to shoot down, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
I believe it is overrated. It is not the most overrated horror movie of all time, but I do
Right.
believe it is very overrated because it's a horror movie done by the auteur director.
Right.
So there's a level of reverence for it that I believe is unwarranted.
I think
Again, I like the movie, but I can also see someone from a younger generation, even, and when I say younger generation, I don't even mean like the 20-year gap between me and Ethan. I can talk about the 10-year gap between me and some of my other friends.
Right.
And I look at it and I go, okay, yeah, there's a disconnect there that might be happening there because there's this very long, slow kind of build up to it that you're either with modern horror, it's jump scare every 5 seconds. again, I prefer The Shining over something like that, but I can see why it would not connect with them. I can 100%
I would
see
say
why it would not connect.
Horror 10, 15 years ago. That was the big thing. And like mainstream, like there's not really like big budget horror anymore.
I think the production of The Shining is one of the reasons why it gets overrated in a lot of categories. For a horror film, even now they don't get production on that level a lot of times.
Okay, so the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is definitely in the top 5.
Yes,
it probably lands at we all know what spot it probably lands in, but let's get some more on there before we start.
Okay.
How do we pick the other 4?
We eliminate
all of your picks, Ethan, and then we duke it out from there.
I think if we're going, we have to consider modern horror.
Yes,
and people at this table have stated The Invisible Man is a very good retelling of that story.
I rescind that, but yes, sure.
You were literally going, oh no, it's a very good one. It's very good. Fuck you.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's the dynamic mind of Brady Davis.
So
you could have taken 3 through 5 and I would have been fine, but 1 and 2
I didn't know 3 through 5. I only knew The Descent.
Well, I'm sorry that you don't watch
then you
good
just
movies.
lied. You said I didn't know 3 through 5. I just knew The Descent. That's 4. That's in 3 through 5. You're a lie.
So not only do you not watch good movies, you don't know math. That's great.
We're beyond passive aggressive. We are full into
aggressive.
We're into active aggressive right now at this point. Jesus Christ.
I'll get over it eventually, but not right now. Probably not by the end of this podcast.
Yeah.
Like Batman says in Identity Crisis, I could stop doing what I'm doing right now. Today ain't it. Tomorrow won't be either.
I'm gonna go into work tonight, and all I'm gonna be thinking of is Brady still hates me.
You're gonna go into work. You're gonna go into work tonight so that you'll be around people, so that Brady doesn't kill you.
Tonight being an hour from
There
now.
you go.
All right, so
we need a foreign movie on this list.
we have a good amount to choose from.
We have a good amount. We have
when it comes to
Audition,
foreign
Suspiria,
movies,
High Tension, Let the Right One In, Cairo, I Saw the Devil,
Raw.
Raw.
There might be 2 that make the list.
Descent,
to be
I
honest
do
with
believe
you.
is a British production, so that's a foreign film.
It's English. They're basically American.
If I had to,
we killed the queen. Now we take the land.
Yeah.
If I had to have,
They
one
barely have a
nomination-
government right now, so it's okay.
Oh no, God! I felt that one in my kidneys. Fuck. Okay, so foreign films. What foreign films do we like out of this?
Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, if I can point this out because it's on my list, Let the Right One In is the only vampire film we have.
Yeah,
That is very true.
It is a very interesting take on vampires.
That is very true.
It's definitely original in that regard. Looking at other lists, even though I haven't seen I Saw the Devil, I've seen other films in that sort of wheelhouse, and I'd probably love the hell out of it. I could see that being in there.
I Saw the Devil is very interesting because there's like this catharsis that you get, and then you're like, oh no, and then things keep happening, and you're like, oh no.
My vote goes to Suspiria, and again, just visually, it's not like any horror movie from its time or since or before. That Technicolor again, it sets that movie apart.
Yeah,
so
I think
much.
of all the movies that's on here, like visually, that's the most stunning one.
We could throw it up there on the under just for now under Texas if you guys want.
I will
to.
default
I'm
to
okay
you
with that.
three when it comes to this decision.
So
Okay.
Suspiria
I'm okay with that one.
will be in the top
in the
5,
top
but
5. We don't know
where?
what.
In
I
the top 5.
prefer the new one, but the first one but the original one is also really good. They kind of do different things, especially when it
Also-
comes to look.
Also, speaking of horror movies, for me personally, and this is another foreign film, and it's not on my list. I remember being in the theater and going into this movie thinking, up until that point, for the past like 3 or 4 years when this movie was made, I'd lost all hope for horror films. like in
The
mainstream.
early 2000s were a rough
It was a
time.
rough time.
Ooh, man,
Darkness
they were-
Falls, anybody? Fuck no. And I watched this movie, and as I was watching it, like the first 15 minutes, I was like sold already. And that's The Ring. I love the fuck out of that movie. It is so good. And it gave me hope for the future horror at the time period.
and for me, and this may be blasphemous. I've seen Ringu.
I have too.
It didn't work for me. Like the original Grudge and the remake Grudge both worked to me, like are both kind of equal in
You
that
mean
regard.
Ju-on and the
Yeah,
Grudge?
Ju-on. Yeah,
I like Ju-on better, but again, I have to. Yeah, I like the American version of The Ring better than Ringu.
the scene on the boat, like just thinking about this, like I recall scenes from this that still kind of haunt me with the scene on the boat with the horse and what and watch it and you'll know what I'm talking about and you'll be
the
haunted.
black and white images are different in both films too.
Yeah.
Like the sequences you see that they throw at you with all the weird like supernatural stuff
See, to me,
are different.
I'd piggyback on your take of this because you're right. Like early 2000s, to me, there's the Japanese horror influence, but mostly from the Japanese horror side. Like Dark Water, was it Dark Water? Or
Dark Water.
Dark Water was awful.
Like Dark Water, like Pulse is garbage. Full
13,
fucking garbage.
13 Ghosts came out in 99, I think.
13 Ghosts is a fun movie.
It's good, but it's not really scary.
No.
It's more like it feels more like an amusement park ride
Yeah,
to me because it's
basically.
like you go up and and then you go up and
There was a really...
It's that addiction to jump scares. That
Also, the really bad remake of The Haunting came out about the same time, which is also really terrible.
and House on
Liam
Haunted
Neeson.
Hill, yeah,
Right. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So like, if you're
Liam,
gonna talk,
the newer House on Haunted Hill doesn't hold up, but I watched it at a young enough age where there were parts of it that did fuck me up.
so like as far as Diamonds in the Rough in like the early 2000s, like to me it comes down to The Ring and Saw didn't make the list, and so if we want to represent that on there, I think I'm like, and it is on my list. You know,
I'm not gonna say no to The Ring, but I do feel like it's a little overrated.
Okay,
I can see that.
I like it was really creepy, and I didn't really get. It was just kind of creepy, and I didn't really get super scared by it.
And I feel also for me putting in for The Ring, like if I do want a Japanese movie on there, and if I can't have if Audition doesn't make it, I want The Ring on there. So that's just me. That's just my personal take on it.
Whenever I'm looking at the list, one thing that sticks out to me is Friday the 13th. Like from what you guys talk about it, the suspense all the way up to the build up of the reveal of who's actually killing everyone. It also leads into what everyone knows as the Jason Voorhees being the face of the Friday the 13th series. So I would nominate Friday to be on there.
See, my issue, and Friday's my number one, so I'm partial to it, but we already have Chainsaw on there. Like, we already have
the American classic.
We have American seminal classic slasher movie,
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Do we want to double dip and get Friday the 13th in there? I would vote yes, but I can certainly feel a pushback, not like from all y'all, but just a general pushback of, oh, they're just loading it up with slasher movies. And I think, again, when we're getting these top 5 of all times, we want to be kind of broad stroke. We want to like touch on a lot of things as far as that goes.
Again, like the slasher genre is not my subgenre, is not my favorite when it comes to horror. So I move away from that.
I would have to say also, if we didn't all three have Texas Chainsaw and it wasn't already like in there, then it might be in contention for
again,
something.
It's 2 number 1s and a number 4. Like that, like it made 3 lists.
Yeah.
Like it, first of all, it has to be in there.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's indicative of the spot it's going to end up
Probably.
being in. But we haven't got to that part yet. So like as much as I want Friday the 13th on this list, like I think just the gravitas that we've developed with Texas. But the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think it's just down there. Now, that being said, I have seen Audition. To me, it's too shocking to be impactful. It's similar to me in the realm of like High Tension. I have not seen Raw, so I can't tell you that. But it was Titanic or Titan. Excuse me. Yeah, I literally just created a French version of Titanic. But Titan. Titan, I was able to actually handle more so.
Oh, you actually watched that one?
Yeah, it was such a weird premise. So
It's
yeah, I had to jump
so
on that.
fucking weird. And then
but
it kind
again, I
of
haven't-
changes halfway through, and and you're like, what the fuck is happening?
It's like a romantic horror comedy. What the fuck?
Yeah, about family.
It's about family.
But the lead character is a serial killer.
Yeah.
Who is impregnated by a car.
Yeah. Oh my God, they could do Teton 2, Fast and the Furious 11.
Yeah.
That because it's all about family.
Yeah.
I'm double downing on The Ring. I think The Ring should be in there.
All right.
I'm okay with that. Like I said, it's not my favorite, but I think it's a solid representation of that time of horror. Like we've kind of
Ethan,
we've got some older stuff.
Put it on the board, my man.
The Ring is nominated.
And we've got
The Ring 2002.
and this is in more of the newer times, but not like super.
Let's
super
go
new.
even further newer times.
Mm-hmm.
So we have The Invisible Man 2020. We have the Fear Street trilogy.
Yes.
It Chapter 1 would technically
It
also
Chapter 1 would be on there as well.
Those are pretty much
Of the two new It's, I think that was the better one. Like to me,
Yeah.
the side with the children, because children are more of an underdog than adults.
Yeah.
And I think that's what always kind of resonates with that movie. And for America, and it's very kind of a slice of Americana. Like everybody went to like grammar school, and like they having to fight a killer clown from outer space that isn't.
Okay, I'm gonna throw my weight around.
Okay, go for it.
First of all, like I haven't watched it, and I'm never gonna watch it because again, I watched the original one when I was very young, and it fucked me up, so I'm never gonna watch it. But I'm not okay with it. Ethan killed The Shining. I'm not okay with having another with.
Are you using a rogue bullet?
No. But I'm just saying, like, I will
downvoting.
fight against
He's downvoting.
Chapter 1.
You'll fight against it, Chapter 1.
Yes,
Okay,
because
okay.
like I'm not having that one over the fucking Shining as our Stephen King movie.
With that said, because Brady, you have said that we are kind of in a golden age of horror, especially as far as creative ideas. Even though this is a remake. See, my weight to throw on that would be The Invisible Man. And the reason why I say that is because that movie took a premise that could have been very poorly handled. See the Chevy Chase version. And did it in a way that was absolutely compelling and modern.
Yeah.
And so I think for movies and for horror movies, I think we should put The Invisible Man on this list.
It's
Does anyone disagree?
well, I don't disagree, but I will say that out of all the films, and there's only a couple that I haven't seen. I have not seen that.
It's really, really good.
I love it.
But
Clearly.
that being said, I will not argue with it going on there
Oh, okay. So
because
on principle, I want to argue against it, but I really can't because it
on the
is
principle
really good.
on the principle that Ethan Skinner's
yeah,
a fuck.
on the
Yeah,
principle
okay,
that
there we
Ethan
go.
Skinner's a fuck.
There you go.
But I really, it's really, really good, and like I said, it turns that premise into something more modern, and it does it in a really, really good way. On top of the fact that when you actually see the Invisible Man suit, it's really freaky because that what's it called, tryptophobia or whatever.
Yeah.
Tryptophobia. Yeah.
It kind of, if you have any of that, like it definitely sets that off.
There's a shock image on from the early days of the internet called Lotus Breast, and if that fucks with you, that suit fucks with you. 100%.
But it's really good, and it's probably Blumhouse's like best movie, and it is like a new, more modern horror movie, and it does things in a very interesting way.
all right, so let's throw it up there.
The Invisible
I'm
Man
Invisible Man.
2020 is on
All right,
the board.
I'm gonna step in here and say
All right,
something.
here we go.
All right. There's a lot of things we have on there. There's a lot of really good things we have on there. Some of them at higher production than others. I want to say if nothing else historically, but also on the factor of it being like probably one of the scariest things I'd ever seen up until that point. I want to put another classic on there, and that's The Exorcist. I know Brady's not a fan of that genre, but I think it's definitely, for me personally, one of the, at the time, scariest films I'd ever seen.
I will agree with you on that because I haven't seen The Exorcist, but from what I know, like my father telling me about it, my mother, they were terrified when they first saw it.
We've got a lot of movies for you to watch
Yes.
and we need to fix.
Yeah, just take a picture of this.
Oh no, it's going on the gram.
Body horror and movies where you are not in
we
control
didn't
of
put any Cronenberg on.
No,
No,
we didn't.
like no Fly,
Well,
Videodrome.
Cronenberg are not like those movies are not. Most of those, his horror movies are not movies that
no
I enjoy.
scanners.
Right.
No
Yeah.
scanners.
Yeah, body horror and films where you're not in control of what your body, like, it's
They're
terrifying.
Very, very disturbing.
Terrifying.
The spider walk down the stairs.
Yes.
The crucifix, and that's all I'm going to say about that because that's just
Your mother sucks cocks in hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would not mind The Exorcist being.
In fact, I'm going to tell you what. Omnibus homework, not for our passengers, one of our travelers. Watch The Exorcist. Like this is the last week of spoopy season. Watch The Exorcist.
Yeah, I will be sure to do that.
There you go. All right. So if we don't have any disagreement, it's third on my list.
Since
so
it is it's not an Ethan pick, I will abstain my my vote, my biases.
There you go. There we go. We will not hold this house in filibuster on this issue.
Yeah.
All right. So The Exorcist.
It's a classic one, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that we have more classic.
Just quick tangent. The Exorcist 3, Legion has the best jump scare in all of movie history.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a really really good one.
It's a good jump scare. Unfortunately, the movie as a whole for me personally.
No. It's
it goes
why
downstairs downhill from the jump scare.
It's why I stopped.
Right.
It's a well done jump scare. Most jump scares are lazy bullshit
Yeah.
because to pad out the
I mean,
terror.
it's literally just,
and it's always like the fake out jump scare is the worst. 'cause
Oh, those
it's
are
like,
the worst. I
Fuck
hate
you. But that's a jump scares can be done right, and I can't. There's a movie that I watched
don't
recently
mind
that does.
fake jump scares
When they're
except
done well.
except when they relieve too much tension.
Yeah.
Because
right.
then when the actual jump scare hits, it doesn't punch as hard.
Yeah.
All right. So right now
We got our 5.
We got our 5. From top to bottom. What do we got, Ethan?
We got The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Suspiria, The Ring, The Invisible Man, and The Exorcist. A lot of these.
Yeah, 4 out of 5 are these.
Yes.
Is the scariest word in the English language? Possibly. Possibly. There we go.
I will go ahead and make the notion.
Nobody ever mentioned Jaws, which is also
That's
that's a
true.
good
Yeah.
point.
one of the
Yeah.
scariest movies.
I will go ahead and make the notion to put Chainsaw Massacre at number 1.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes, but
Yeah.
you have to write
I
it
appreciate-
proper.
Yes.
The Texas
Don't worry, I will.
Chainsaw
not
Massacre.
not the one that came out earlier this year, where
What was
I'm
that
gonna
movie?
capitalize it.
It was like maybe like 5 or 6 episodes on the show ago that you told us was in the spirit of Texas. It was
X.
about X. Thank you. Yeah.
Need to
they
watch
recently.
that.
I didn't get a chance to watch it in the theaters, but they recently.
Oh man, he's doing it in Calibri font. This is serious now.
They recently released the prequel for the movie called Pearl, which is about one of the other characters.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And then they surprised everyone at the end of that one, saying that there's a third movie. That's Ty West. Ty West is a very good horror director
Yes,
right now. He also did another movie
Ethan,
called The Sacrament.
All
which,
of these must be capitalized and underlined. We need to stress the fact that the is the scariest
Absolutely.
word in the English language.
Okay. So number 2.
I feel like number 2.
Hold on. Let's build this like a sandwich and set up the bread.
Okay.
Let's put
Number 5.
of these 5. As much as I've lauded it in the last couple minutes, the Invisible Man to me kind of it doesn't stack up.
It
there.
can't
doesn't
beat
have
any of the other
It
ones.
doesn't have the legacy of the other ones, and that's simply because in another 20 years it will probably
It probably
I
has
think.
more impact. Yeah, I'll give you that.
I will agree. I will agree with that.
All right. Slam it
And
on there.
Again,
the Invisible Man.
I really hope that they wise up, because like the bullshit that they tried to do with the Mummy with Tom Cruise didn't work.
Now, you said wise up, so the next thing I thought of in my brain was build your thighs up. No Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I don't consider that a horror movie. That's a
It's a send up to sci-fi.
musical.
I also don't, but I just
Yeah.
wanted to see what that sparkler would
I
do.
think it's a send up to horror and sci-fi.
Suspiria, The Ring, and The Exorcist. No, that's not difficult. My
my gut says The Exorcist number 2.
So is mine.
I Why are we all thinking the same thing?
I was because I'm still going by my list, and I have The Ring at number 2, but that's because that movie really hit me. Like I was able to watch it. To be fair, I've never seen The Exorcist in a theater. It might have a different play with me on that.
Yeah.
But The Ring, I saw The Ring.
I never saw The Ring in the theater, so that might be.
The Ring in the theater, surround sound, all that, it just kind of hit me there. That said, if like again, Exorcist is still on my list too. So like either way, I'm winning.
I think historically, for me personally, The Exorcist is number 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ingredients, Exorcist 2.
Okay. So The Exorcist. But no, The Exorcist is number 2.
Yeah.
The Exorcist 2
is not on there.
Is number 2 as in poop. Even though it has Darth Vader in it.
And then, God, that's a confusing trilogy because then they did the one where it was basically ended up being 2 different movies that were recut and reshot and everything.
The Ring or Suspiria, I'll actually make this very easy because of its legacy and because of how strong its remake was as opposed to the sequel that came out after The Ring. There was a lot more to build off of in Suspiria than The Ring. I'm okay with Suspiria being 3 and with The Ring being 4.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that too.
All right, there we go.
Also, we've made the perfect The sandwich.
Oh my God, we did. It's a Suspiria sandwich loaded down with The bread.
If you're not familiar, Jessica Harper in Suspiria was also in a little movie called Shock Treatment, which was the sequel to Rocky Horror Picture Show. Jessica Harper was also in another rock and roll musical.
What was that movie called?
Phantom of the Paradise.
I knew it. I thought you were gonna lead off with Phantom of the Paradise. Where the fuck is that on your goddamn list? God damn it!
It's not a horror movie. It is, but it's not.
It should have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, not 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, there we go.
When we do musicals, it'll probably be in there somewhere.
Oh.
Tune in to episode never for our top 5 musicals.
We're gonna eventually get there, my dude.
I'll stab you.
You'll stab yourself first.
Wait, what?
Well,
exactly.
So, lovely listeners, we have decided the penultimate top 5 horror movies.
That's not what penultimate means.
That's penultimate is before the ultimate.
Penultimate means next to last.
Yeah.
Ultimate means last.
This is the
final.
This is the ultimate.
English is not my strong suit, okay? I just say words I think fit.
Then speak in your native French.
Among other things, movie choices are also not your strong suit.
The top 5
The
list.
Invisible Man got on the list and The Shining didn't.
Begrudgingly.
The ultimate
That's because he's a twat.
official top 5 horror movies.
I also blame Jody a little bit because he gave him that power.
Number 5, The
Never Again.
Invisible Man.
Yeah.
Number 4, The Ring. Number 3, Suspiria. Number 2, The Exorcist. And number 1, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
This list cannot be controverted. It is inviolable. It is the only list. Anyone suggesting anything else, which includes ourselves because we have our own top 5 lists as evidenced on the board, they're all wrong. This is the only list that counts.
This is the only thing that matters in life.
It's a pretty good top 5 list. I think this is one of the best
pretty good.
top 5s that we've come up with.
Yeah, this was
Pretty good stuff.
And I enjoyed this.
I forgot about Hollywood chainsaw hookers.
Jesus
I
Christ.
forgot about Frankenhooker.
Yeah, I was just waiting for one of y'all. Night of the Lepus. Thanks killing.
Oh, yeah.
I have an award from that movie.
The Stuff.
Oh,
High
yeah.
Society.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Or was it just Society? No, it was
High
High Society.
Society.
Okay, yeah. Mm.
In the spirit
Also
of
Society.
it, in the spirit of it still being spooky season, Jody, tell us about Fearology.
Fearology is a podcast. There we go.
Alrighty. No. What is it about?
Horror.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Where can they listen to it?
Anchor.
All right,
Spotify.
Nice.
Why did this become an interrogation?
Yeah.
Holy
yeah.
shit.
Listen to the next episode where I won't talk about Reanimator.
Gotcha.
All right.
Jay, tell us about Silence Your Cell Phone.
Silence Your Cell Phones is the premier movie and television podcast on the internet. If you're not watching it, you have problems. Kevin Shelton and Jarrett Hubbard will take you through a week's or month's worth of viewing, both on the stream and in the movie theater, which is very, very cool. They have a YouTube show. They do, right now it's been once a week, very consistently, and then sometimes that recording will appear on their channel, their podcasting channel, which is available on all major podcast distributors. That is silence your cell phones. Cinephiles to the max.
Nice. Whiskey and Wrestling. Our good friends Jason Holder and Michael Hill. They have a whiskey or spirits of the week to drink while they discuss about the happenings of wrestling, AEW, WWE. They don't talk about Impact. I don't know if people want that, but if you do want that, tell them at Whiskey and Wrestling.
They prepared before the show tonight. They prepared for us the Reanimator, or actually specifically Holder let me try that again. Produced it for us, which is a very green drink. It has Midori, so of course it's greener than green. But it was very good. It had a little cedary texture with a good bit of lime to it, so I was very happy about that.
Brady,
Brady is in a coma for you shooting The Shining.
I forgot Coma, the movie from 1979.
Oh my God! You know what you could present that on? Fearology. That'd be great. Absolutely.
And like always, we want to thank Mechanarb Gaming, Greg Spanier, for allowing us to use the wonderful studio space to record this episode. Again, thank you, Greg.
They have puzzles and shit.
Magic and shit.
Jody manipulated Brady's mouth to make it look like he was saying that. Mm-hmm. Don't let him fool you.
If you want to learn how to play a tabletop RPG game or a board game or a card game, check out Mechanarb Gaming.
Come by on Thursdays. I'm usually running something.
Yes.
You go enjoy it. We're doing Blood on the Clock Tower, which for you will be in the past, but for us will be in the future. Don't ask how the conduit works. I don't understand time travel.
Yeah. Well, I think that about does it.
There you go. We haven't figured out what to do for episode 31 yet.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We're kind of bad about that.
Oh, man, this is coming on the 30th episode, not the 31st.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will air on the 31st because I'm going to try to have this out for Halloween. But yeah. But there you go. There you go.
For myself, I am Ethan Skinner.
All right.
For myself and Brady Davis, I'm Jody Kite and also Brady Davis.
And I am James McCarthy. Elmo! What?